Chapter 547. Suddenly, the sound of footsteps came from the corridor not far away. Qin Mengyan quickly pushed Yang Ming away and lowered her head shyly. "Someone's coming," Qin Mengyan said softly. Yang Ming looked up and said, "It's an old lady, maybe it's Grandma Lu. Let's go downstairs quickly. Don't let her see us," Qin Mengyan quickly said. She didn't have time to think about how Yang Ming saw it clearly. After going downstairs, it didn't take long for an old lady to walk out of the corridor. "Grandma," Qin Mengyan greeted. Is this your boyfriend?" Grandma Lu looked at Yang Ming and smiled. "Hello Grandma Lu. I'm Mingyan's boyfriend. My name is Yang Ming." Yang Ming nodded and greeted Grandma Lu. "Good. You look like a talented young man," Grandma Lu said kindly. "Grandma Lu, it's so late. Where are you going?" Qin Mengyan asked. I'm going to pick up my little granddaughter. Look, I have to go to tutoring after Chinese New Year." Grandma Lu said helplessly. "I'll go first. I'm in a hurry." "'Kay Grandma Lu. Be careful," Qin Mengyan reminded her. "It's okay. It's just around the corner," Grandma Lu said. After Grandma Lu left, Yang Ming asked, "How old is Grandma Lu's granddaughter? Why is she still tutoring after Chinese New Year?" "She's in her 3rd year of high school," Qin Mengyan sighed faintly. After Yang Ming heard it, he shook his head helplessly. "Yeah, Qin Mengyan and I were in our 3rd year of high school too. At that time weren't we tutoring day and night? Especially during the winter break of our 3rd year of high school. We didn't rest at all. By the way, Zhou Jiejie came to your house. Did she see Uncle Qin?" Yang Ming asked. "And she said that she had something to see my father." Qin Mengyan hesitated and said, "What did my father say to you just now?" "Uncle Qin told me that Zhou Jiejie told him that she likes me," Yang Ming said with a wry smile. Although Qin Mengyan already knew Zhou Jiejie's thoughts, she didn't expect Zhou Jiejie to dare to confess to her father. "What did she say?" "Uncle Qin didn't explain in detail." Yang Ming shook his head. How could he ask in detail about this kind of thing? "Oh, Zhou Jiejie really likes you." Qin Mengyan nodded and then suddenly whispered, "Yang Ming, she is actually quite pitiful." Yang Ming looked at Qin Mengyan with some disbelief. This seemed to be the first time that Qin Mengyan spoke for another girl, and it was a girl who might become her love rival. This made Yang Ming very surprised. At the same time, he admired Zhou Jiejie. What kind of girl is this? She can actually win the sympathy of Qin Mengyan. It's really not simple. Is Zhou Jiejie really worthy of sympathy, or is she too good at acting? Yang Ming wasn't sure. He didn't want to continue to be entangled in this issue. When he thought of Zhou Jiejie liking him, Yang Ming had some headaches. "Mengyan, you go back." It was possible that he crushed Li Dadong's hand bones. Li Dadong clenched his teeth and looked at Yang Ming inconceivably. His grip strength was famous, but he was defeated by Yang Ming so easily. Finally, he couldn't stand it. Just as he wanted to groan, Yang Ming let go of his hand and naturally hugged Lin Jiyun's shoulder. Then they entered the house. He threw Li Dadong at the door. Li Dadong looked at Yang Ming's back and clenched his teeth. He originally wanted to give Yang Ming a show of strength. As a result, not only did he not teach Yang Ming a lesson, but he also suffered a loss. Li Dadong was so angry. However, there was no other way. He couldn't be angry and say that he wanted to teach Yang Ming a lesson, but he was taught a lesson instead. Seeing Yang Ming hugging Lin Jiyun, Li Dadong's eyes were about to spit out fire. Li Dadong's family also lived in Shanty Town. The two families were not far away. Li Dadong was 1 year older than Lin Jiyun. The two children grew up together. Li Dadong had always been secretly in love with Lin Jiyun, but Lin Jiyun had always regarded him as an older brother. However, Li Dadong thought that the two people were childhood sweethearts. When Lin Jiyun was older, he would confess to her. It shouldn't be difficult. However, what Li Dadong didn't expect was that Lin Jiyun actually had a boyfriend suddenly. This made him unable to accept it. Today was the Lunar New Year, which was the 23rd day of the 12th lunar month. The Northerners regarded the 23rd day of the 12th lunar month as the Lunar New Year. The Southerners regarded the 24th day of the 12th lunar month as the Lunar New Year. The customs were different from place to place. It was called the Lunar New Year among the people. In fact, it was a festival to worship the kitchen god. Li Dadong's university was in Donghai, so he usually couldn't see Lin Jiyun. They could only meet during the holidays. During the winter holidays, Li Dadong, as usual, came to Lin Jiyun's house every few days to help Xin Yueping with the housework. Lin Jiyun was relatively idiotic about relationships. She didn't notice Li Daidong's intentions, but Xin Yueping was experienced. How could she not understand Li Daidong's thoughts? She also hinted to Li Daidong to find a girlfriend, but Li Daidong just smirked. Obviously he misunderstood. During this time Yang Ming was relatively busy. He didn't have time to visit Lin Jiyun's house, so Li Daidong didn't know that there was such a person as Yang Ming. If he didn't ask, Lin Jiyun naturally wouldn't mention it to him. Until today Lin Jiyun said that a friend came to visit her house. Li Daidong didn't think too much at the time. He thought it was Lin Jiyun's college sister. Just now, after opening the door, he knew that the person who came was Lin Jiyun's boyfriend. This made Li Daidong return to reality from his fantasy. Lin Jiyun had grown up and began to understand the relationship between men and women. She was no longer the little sister who didn't understand anything. This made Li Daidong regret that he didn't make a move in advance. He actually let an outsider take the lead. Chapter 548. However, Li Daidong still had some confidence. After all, he and Lin Jiyun had been childhood sweethearts for so many years. How could he be stronger than an outsider? This boyfriend named Yang Ming had only been with Lin Jiyun for 1 semester because he hadn't heard that Lin Jiyun had a boyfriend during the summer vacation. How close could their relationship be in just 1 semester? Li Daidong felt that as long as he worked hard and expressed his feelings to Lin Jiyun, then Lin Jiyun would definitely break up with Yang Ming. Thinking of this, Li Daidong's mood also recovered a little. He followed Lin Jiyun and Yang Ming into the house with a gloomy face. Yang Ming is here. Before Xin Yueping spoke, Lin Chongqing greeted Yang Ming enthusiastically. For the incident in Donghai, Lin Chongqing was very grateful to Yang Ming, so his tone was much more polite. Uncle Lin, Auntie Xin, hello. Yang Ming said with a smile. Chongqing, let's eat. Xin Yueping saw that Yang Ming was here, so she ordered, you go and cook the dumplings. Li Daidong listened and gritted his teeth. I came in the afternoon and helped to make the dumplings, but it actually benefited this guy surnamed Yang. However, even if he was angry, he couldn't vent his anger. He could only sulk. Daidong, you go and help your uncle, Xin Yueping said. Okay, I will help Godfather cook the dumplings. Li Daidong nodded and deliberately emphasized the word Godfather. Xin Yueping sighed. She knew that Li Daidong said this deliberately. When they were young, Lin Chongqing and Li Daidong's father half-jokingly said that they wanted to marry the 2 children, so Li Daidong recognized Lin Chongqing as his godfather. At that time Lin Jiyun was still young and not very sensible. Li Daidong had just become sensible. Later this matter was treated as a joke, but they didn't expect Li Daidong to suddenly mention it again. Yang Ming listened to Li Daidong's godfather. He couldn't help but frown. He whispered to Lin Jiyun, why did he call your dad godfather? I don't know. Lin Jiyun shook her head in doubt. Obviously she had no impression of those things. Yang Ming nodded. He didn't care about what was going on. He didn't care if it was true or not. What about godfather? Godfather, not father-in-law. He seems to be interested in you. Yang Ming sat on the sofa and was very close to Lin Jiyun like an intimate couple. Lin Jiyun's immunity to Yang Ming had reached an incredible level. Like this, when Yang Ming did some intimate actions to her, Lin Jiyun didn't feel any resistance except for some shyness in her heart. Big brother Dedong only treats me as a sister. Lin Jiyun stuttered. Previously she didn't notice that Li Daidong had feelings for her other than being a sister, but judging from Li Daidong's weird expression and behavior just now, it seemed to be like what Yang Ming said. Why is a sister so hostile to me? Yang Ming snorted. We're still childhood sweethearts. Why? Are you jealous? Lin Jiyun didn't know what she was thinking, but she suddenly said such a sentence. Why would I be jealous? Yang Ming smiled and hugged Lin Jiyun. Aren't we pretending? What is there to be jealous about? Pretending? Why are you hugging me? Lin Jiyun's face was red and she was a little embarrassed. Even if you pretend, you need to have professionalism. You see the movie called Something. It is said that the male and female protagonists in the movie are really XXOO. Yang Ming smiled. Stop it. Lin Jiyun said, they are filming. How do you know? It is said so on the internet. Yang Ming said innocently. Well, can you leave me some face later? I have nothing to do with Big Brother Dedong, but I have always respected him as a brother. Don't embarrass him too much. Lin Jiyun hesitated and said, Am I the one who embarrasses him? I think he is the one who wants to embarrass me. Yang Ming snorted. You see, when he entered the door he held my hand and didn't let go. Fortunately I have practiced before. Otherwise I would be crippled by him. Come on. Big brother Dedong's head is sweating. Lin Jiyun wasn't stupid. She probably understood what happened before. And you are so bad. You actually called him Big Winter Melon. Didn't you call him Big Winter Melon? Yang Ming widened his eyes curiously. I just followed you to call him that. I don't want to talk to you anymore. Lin Jiyun was speechless. Although Li Dagong helped in the kitchen, his eyes occasionally swept in the direction of the living room. When he saw Yang Ming and Lin Jiyun flirting, he was annoyed. He accidentally poured the water from the pot of boiling dumplings onto Li Dagong's hand. It was so hot that he grimaced. After Zhou Jiejia returned home, she began to arrange for the evening's action. If everything went well, he would be able to get something useful tonight. Monitoring the network IP of Wang Jitao's home, Zhou Jiejia clicked on a shortcut to a folder on the table. She opened the photos inside and browsed. These were the photos of Yang Ming that Zhou Jiejia usually took with her mobile phone. Some were of Yang Ming alone and some were of Yang Ming and Qin Mengyan together. However, Zhou Jiejia didn't mind at all. She flipped through them with relish. Sometimes she smiled, sometimes she frowned as if she was doing something very happy. Yes, this was Zhou Jiejia's usual leisure time. In addition to studying computer technology, Zhou Jiejia's only entertainment was to look at Yang Ming's photos in a daze. Dang dang dang. There was a knock on the bedroom door. Zhou Jiejia immediately returned to her senses. She minimized the window on the computer desktop and then said, Come in. Jiejia, I heard that you went to Wang Jitao's house today? Mother Zhou asked with a smile. Zhou Jiejia nodded faintly. She was still a little worried about the fact that her mother talked to Yang Ming privately. Don't be angry with your mother. Mother is also doing it for your own good. Mother Zhou smiled. I heard that Wang Shifan is going to transfer the shares under his name to Wang Jitao's name. This is what I was most worried about before. I was afraid that Wang Shifan, this old guy, is not honest and has illegitimate children outside. Now I am relieved that no one will compete with you for shares in the future. Zhou Jiejia looked at her mother in front of her. She didn't know what to say. In her eyes it was full of interests and money. Including her daughter's marriage, it was also mixed with too many interests. Your father will be back in a few days. I told your father about you and Wang Jitao. Your father still thinks that Wang Jitao isn't worthy of you. Mother Zhou smiled. Zhou Jiejia shook her head. I would rather be born in an ordinary family. Ordinary? Jiejia, you don't know how many people are envious of you. Mother Zhou said, You really don't know how lucky you are. I don't think there's anything good about it. Zhou Jiejia sighed. Besides, isn't my father working for others? Why do I always have to be superior to others? Work? It depends on who you work for. Your father is now working for the most mysterious family in Europe, which is the family's butler to the outside world. Mother Zhou said proudly, According to your father's intention, it's not a problem to find an aristocrat in the upper class over there. Zhou Jiejia looked at her mother, who was in a gorgeous fantasy. She didn't know what to say. My daughter is so beautiful. Maybe it's not a problem to find a family heir. Mother Zhou said proudly, It's a pity that I heard from your father that the heir of the mysterious family is a woman. Well, Mom, I'm tired. I want to sleep for a while. Zhou Jiejia really didn't agree with her mother's idea. That's fine. You rest. Mother Zhou nodded. Right, you and Wang Jitao can stay like this for now. If there is a better candidate, let's change. Zhou Jiejia didn't answer. In Wang Shifan's president's office, Wang Shifan and Huang Yukai were alone. Yukai, the police haven't suspected anything about Su Daji, right? Wang Shifan asked with a frown. No, I haven't heard any news. Huang Yukai shook his head. I'm always worried about Su Daji's body. I'm afraid that the police will find some clues. Wang Shifan sighed. My eyelids are always twitching these days. I have a bad hunch. Is it okay, President Wang? Do you want to take a look tomorrow? Get some concentrated sulfuric acid and sprinkle it on the body to let it rot as soon as possible. The police can't identify the identity of the body. Okay, there's no time to lose. There's no need to wait until tomorrow. Get some sulfuric acid now. Let's go in a while, said Wang Shifan. I'll listen to President Wang's instructions. Huang Yukai nodded. Chapter 549. Wang Shifan called Wang Jitao and told him that he would be back later in the evening. Wang Jitao was particularly happy today, so he didn't take it seriously. He hung up the phone after a few perfunctory words. Wang Jitao was chatting with Zhou Jiejia on QQ at the moment. He was very excited. Zhou Jiejia chatted with Wang Jitao mainly to get information from him and ask if Wang Shifan had come back. Then she sent a super Trojan horse to Wang Jitao. Of course, it was embedded in her own photo. A computer noob like Wang Jitao naturally didn't doubt it. He clicked on it directly. As a result, the Trojan horse ran. As long as there was a computer in the local area network turned on, the Trojan horse would be transmitted instantly. Zhou Jiejia was a little amused. If she knew that Wang Jitao was so stupid, she wouldn't have to spend so much effort to change the router settings. The atmosphere at the dinner table was a bit depressing. Li Dadong had been gloomy and didn't speak. He ate the dumplings and looked at Yang Ming with hostility. Dadong, today is New Year's Eve. Come, you are Jian's big brother. You say a few words first. Lin Chongqing saw that the atmosphere was awkward, so he took the initiative to speak. Godfather, I wish you and Godmother a happy new year. Sister Jian is getting more and more beautiful. Li Dadong hesitated and said. It was just that Yang Ming was directly excluded. How could Lin Chongqing and Xin Yueping not hear the sour meaning in Li Dadong's words? They shook their heads and sighed secretly. Lin Jiun just wanted to speak, but Yang Ming beat her to it. Hee, since you are Jiun's brother, then you are my brother-in-law. Thank you for your blessing. Yang Ming put Li Dadong in the camp of relatives in one sentence. Aren't you trying to get close to her? Well, I will directly upgrade you. Let's see how you chase after Lin Jiun. Sure enough, after listening to Yang Ming's words, Li Dadong's face was a little strange. He was stunned for a long time before he said, It's just a dry relationship, not a biological one. Hee. Yang Ming laughed mockingly. Xin Yueping and Lin Chongqing couldn't help it. They didn't expect Li Dadong to come to their house today, but since Li Dadong took the initiative to help, they couldn't drive him away, so it created the current awkward situation. The meal finally ended in a depressing atmosphere. Because of the appearance of Li Dadong, Yang Ming didn't talk too much with Lin Chongqing and Xin Yueping. After the meal, he got up and left. Lin Chongqing didn't urge him to stay. After all, with today's atmosphere, there was no point in staying. Li Dadong saw that Yang Ming was going to leave, so he got up and said, Then I'm leaving too. Lin Jiun was also in a dilemma. After sending Yang Ming and Li Dadong to the door, she had no choice but to return to the house. When Yang Ming saw that Li Dadong was walking with him, he knew that Li Dadong must have something to say to him. So after 2 steps, he deliberately turned back. Li Dadong, who had been following behind Yang Ming, was suddenly shocked. He quickly stopped and almost bumped into Yang Ming. What are you doing? Li Dadong asked subconsciously. Why are you following me? Yang Ming smiled. Nothing. Li Dadong's nature wasn't bad, but when he saw that Lin Jiun suddenly had a boyfriend, he couldn't accept it. Now that he was suddenly asked by Yang Ming, he didn't know how to speak. Oh, then I'm leaving if there's nothing. You don't have to follow me. Yang Ming said faintly. Wait. Seeing that Yang Ming was leaving, Li Dadong was anxious and quickly shouted. What are you doing? Aren't you fine? Yang Ming smiled. I want to talk to you. Li Dadong took a deep breath and said very solemnly. Looking for me? Yang Ming shrugged and said, Well then let's talk. I have nothing to do anyway. Where do you want to talk? There is a small restaurant in front. My treat. How about we go and sit down? Li Dadong said. Then I'll accept your offer. Right, big winter melon, is it your treat? Asked Yang Ming. Li Dadong's face twitched. My name is Li Dadong, not Big Winter Melon. Oh, I'm talking about Brother Dadong. Didn't Jian call you Brother Dadong? Right, Big Winter Melon? Yang Ming said seriously. It's my treat. Li Dadong was speechless and had to say it. Li Dadong took Yang Ming to a snack bar not far away. It was actually Auntie Hong's home-cooked restaurant. When Auntie Hong saw Yang Ming and Li Dadong come in together, she couldn't help but be a little surprised. Yang Ming was Lin Jiun's boyfriend and Li Dadong was. Auntie Hong was an old street owner here. She was clear about the things between Li Dadong and Lin Jiun, so she couldn't help but be a little surprised. Auntie Hong, find us a private room. Li Dadong spoke first. Okay. Auntie Hong didn't know what was going on, but she still did it. Yang Ming and Li Dadong walked into the private room side by side, and Auntie Hong brought the menu. You order. Li Dadong pushed the menu to Yang Ming. Yang Ming wasn't polite either. He picked up the menu and said, shredded pork with garlic sauce, double-cooked pork, smooth pork tenderloin, kung pao chicken, hot and sour pork ribs, green pepper sauce, braised prawns, spicy tofu. He said a lot of dishes in one breath. Li Dadong's face turned green. He and Lin Jiun were neighbors. Their family conditions could be imagined. Although he earned some money when he worked at Donghai University, he was still very distressed. Yang Ming suddenly ate his half a month of tutoring money. Seeing that Yang Ming still wanted to open his mouth, Li Dadong quickly stopped him. Okay, I can't eat anymore. I haven't finished speaking yet. Don't interrupt. Yang Ming waved his hand and continued. Shredded pork with garlic sauce, double-cooked pork tenderloin, kung pao chicken, hot and sour pork ribs, green pepper sauce, braised prawns, spicy tofu. These are too greasy. I just finished my meal, so I don't want them. I can't eat them. I just want a home-style cold dish and a green onion mixed with tofu. Li Dadong listened to Yang Ming's words and reacted. Was this guy playing with me before? However, he also blamed himself for being too impatient. He didn't wait for Yang Ming to finish speaking and stopped him. This was a bit shameful. That's it. Big winter melon, what about you? Yang Ming handed the menu to Li Dadong. Li Dadong also wanted to correct Yang Ming's pronunciation problem, but he still endured it after thinking about it. He didn't know if this guy was intentional or unintentional. If it was unintentional, he would just pronounce it like this. It was useless to correct him. If it was intentional, it was even more useless to correct him. I don't want it. Give me 2 bottles of beer. Li Dadong said. Okay. Auntie Hong nodded. They were all acquaintances. Even if they didn't order much, Auntie Hong had no opinion on them sitting in the private room. Because Yang Ming ordered 2 cold dishes, they were served quickly. Li Dadong handed a bottle of beer to Yang Ming and said, just drink it directly. Do you dare? Yang Ming couldn't help but be dumbfounded. Never mind a bottle of beer, it wasn't unheard of to drink from a box. So he said, it doesn't matter. Li Dadong nodded and drank a few mouthfuls of wine to boost his courage. Then he said, when did you and Jiun get together? I don't have to report this to you, right? Asked Yang Ming. I am Jiun's godbrother. Li Dadong said a reason that he didn't think was reasonable. Not long, 2 months. Yang Ming said faintly, but you don't have a chance. What did you say? Li Dadong said, what do you mean I don't have a chance? What does it have to do with me? Don't pretend. Don't you like Lin Jiun? Do you think I can't see it? Yang Ming said with some sarcasm. Yes. Li Dadong's face shook a bit and said, yes, I like Jiun. Jiun and I are childhood sweethearts. How could she suddenly have a boyfriend? When she was in high school, she didn't understand the relationship between men and women. So what? Yang Ming said faintly. You say, did you use any despicable means? Li Dadong's face was flushed. It seemed that he was already a little drunk. I didn't expect this guy to be so drunk. Otherwise, why did Jiun find a boyfriend when she went to college? Your words are funny. Look at Lin Jiun. Does she look like she was wronged? Yang Ming said sternly. Although the voice was loud, Yang Ming was very guilty. Yes, Li Dadong was right. Yang Ming's means were indeed a bit despicable. However, the original matter wasn't Yang Ming's intention. Who could say clearly? If you want to blame someone, then you can only blame Wang Jitao. However, it was because Li Dadong exposed his thoughts that made Yang Ming a little angry. His voice was also raised several times. Why don't we come back tomorrow? All right. Then let's get out of here quickly. Why do I feel that the Yin wind is so heavy? Wang Shifan was also a little scared. He didn't want to continue to stay in this place. Jia 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 jia. A burst of weird laughter suddenly came over. Wang Shifan and Huang Youcai's scalps suddenly felt numb. What's that sound? Wang Shifan braced himself and asked. I know. President Wang, maybe it's a beast. Huang Youcai comforted himself. Oh, then let's get out of here quickly. Wang Shifan threw down the shovel and turned to get in the car. However, he suddenly widened his eyes and looked in horror at the front of him. That is, Wang Shifan opened his mouth wide. He couldn't even understand what he was saying. Huang Yukai looked up strangely in the direction where Wang Shifan was looking. He was so shocked that he couldn't speak. He saw that in the middle of the hillside not far away, there was a person with a pale face. Under the moonlight, this person's face was abnormally clear. Who else could it be if it wasn't the dead Su De? Oh my god. What is this? Huang Yukai was so scared that he didn't know how to use his crutches. He sat directly on the ground. Hurry up and run. Hurry up and run. He really came back to life. Wang Shifan also calmed down. I pulled Huang Yukai up and got in the car. We drove down the hill quickly. We almost had an accident and overturned the car. The Tsu Dajik on the hillside suddenly emitted a green light. After a long while it dimmed down. Jia 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 jia. There was another weird laugh. Old man Lon. I still need 32 resentful spirits that have just died to be refined into my sinister voodoo. At that time, it will be the death of your Lon family village. Jia 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 jia. Then why does Lin Jian like you? It's impossible. Li Daidong's voice was a little irrational. Why? Your question is very funny. Love, is there a reason? Yang Ming looked at Li Dadong with some sympathy. This sad person who had been secretly in love with Lin Jian. Lin Jian and I have been childhood sweethearts and you have only known her for 2 months. Li Dadong clenched his fist. Why? I said that I have been with her for 2 months. I didn't say that I have known her for 2 months. Yang Ming sneered. Then let me ask you. Uncle Lin's leg was hit by a car. When Lin Jian was desperate, where were you? I was tutoring crazily in Donghai. I wanted to make more money. Li Dadong was embarrassed. You have no brain. Yang Ming shook his head. Even if you take 5 tutoring jobs a day, you can only get the money after a month. By that time Uncle Lin would have been beyond cure. Li Dadong was a little speechless. Do you know what Lin Jian did at that time? In order to treat Uncle Lin, she sold herself. Yang Ming said, do you know all this? What? Lin Jian sold herself. After Li Dadong heard it, his face suddenly showed some pain. However, fortunately she met me. I gave her 3,000 yuan. Yang Ming sighed and said, okay. Turned out to be like this. Sure enough, Jiyun was forced. You actually used such a despicable means. Li Dadong didn't wait for Yang Ming to finish speaking. He looked at Yang Ming crazily. Forced? Hee, your imagination is very rich. But I didn't ask her to do anything at the time. Yang Ming shook his head. Until later when I met Jiyun again we got together. You didn't ask her to do that with you? Li Dadong looked at Yang Ming inconceivably. I don't like sex without love. Yang Ming shook his head. So, you two still have nothing to do with each other? Do I still have a chance? After Li Dadong listened to Yang Ming's words, his eyes were full of hope. I'm sorry. You didn't have it at the time, but now you have it. Yang Ming shrugged. So, your chance is almost 0. Li Dadong suddenly couldn't speak. He looked at Yang Ming. After a while he lowered his head and silently poured the beer into his mouth. I told you this because I want to tell you that sometimes, a plain relationship may not be love. Yang Ming shook his head. Falling in love with a person has nothing to do with time. Sometimes when love comes it's just a matter of a moment. Yang Ming said this to Li Dadong. In fact, wasn't he also saying this to himself? The relationship between Suya and I, isn't it the kind of plain relationship between childhood sweethearts? Indeed, between Suya and I, there is already a vague relationship between a man and a woman. It is stronger than Li Daidong's sibling relationship. However, it has been so long. How can I guarantee that Suya hasn't fallen in love with someone else? Go, let me think about it alone. Li Dadong wasn't the kind of unreasonable person. When he heard that Yang Ming and Lin Jian already had a relationship, he knew that his hope was close to slim. Lin Jian was the kind of girl who was more conservative. Li Dadong was very clear in his heart. I don't dislike her, but Lin Jian is the kind of person who is loyal to one person. Therefore, when Li Dadong understood this, he was somewhat resigned. Indeed, Yang Ming was right. If it was possible for me and Lin Jian, we would have been together long ago. Since we have been siblings for so many years, Lin Jian has never fallen in love with me, which means that Lin Jian has already regarded me as an elder brother. You think about it yourself. Also, don't tell Uncle Lin and Auntie Shen about Lin Jian selling herself. Yang Ming patted Li Daidong's shoulder, stood up and turned out of the private room. When he saw Auntie Hong, Yang Ming took the initiative to settle the bill. Yang Ming also noticed that Li Dadong wasn't rich. It was meaningless to extort people like him. Chapter 551. Li Dadong drank alone for a while before he stood up shakily. He walked to the door and said to Auntie Hong, "Auntie Hong, the bill. How much is it?" "Yang Ming has already paid. There's no need." Auntie Hong shook her head. "You can't drink since you were a child. Why are you drinking so much?" "I am not happy." Li Dadong waved his hand and said, "Auntie Hong, do you know Yang Ming?" "How can I not know?" Auntie Hong sighed. "Isn't he Jiyun's boyfriend?" "Sure enough." "Auntie Hong, you know, but I don't know." Li Dadong stumbled out of the small restaurant. As the cold wind blew, his mind was a lot clearer. He remembered what Yang Ming had just said to him. Although he was depressed, he knew that it was indeed the case. Even if he pestered Lin Jiyun, there wouldn't be any result. Thinking of this, Li Dadong could only sigh secretly. "I can only give up." Thinking of Lin Jiyun's intimate appearance with Yang Ming on the sofa today, Li Dadong also knew that Lin Jiyun was really moved. Moreover, Li Dadong was still very clear about Lin Jiyun's character. If it wasn't to the point of loving someone deeply, she wouldn't take that step before marriage. Now, Li Dadong also knew that his chances were slim. He could only silently bless Lin Jiyun in his heart. However, Li Dadong also secretly vowed in his heart that if Yang Ming dared to do something wrong to Lin Jiyun, he would definitely find Yang Ming. Wang Shifan and Huang Yukai stumbled back to the company and sat on the sofa in the office. Both of them still had lingering fears. "Yeah, do you think the two of us are seeing things?" When Wang Shifan thought of the scene just now, he felt anxious. "I'm not sure. Who knows? This thing is really too mysterious." Huang Yukai wiped the cold sweat on his head and said, "It's really fucking evil." Wang Shifan scolded, "The first time I killed someone, I encountered a corpse. It's really bad luck." "Why don't we go again tomorrow?" Huang Yukai suggested. "You still dare to go?" Wang Shifan frowned. "Let's take a look at it during the day. I always feel uneasy." Huang Yukai said, "How can it be so coincidental? If we don't figure it out, we won't have a good life in the future." "That's true. Let's go and have a look during the day tomorrow." Wang Shifan nodded and said. The two of them were scared shitless. They spent the night in the office and prepared to go to the West Star Mountain to investigate tomorrow. Red Flag High School in the guardhouse. Uncle Ma suddenly opened his eyes and got up from the bed. He walked out of his room and looked in the direction of the West Star Mountain. He frowned and muttered something. However, this scene was missed by Yang Ming. At this moment, Yang Ming hadn't returned home yet. Although monitoring Uncle Ma every day was his necessary homework, it was also once in the morning and once in the morning. At other times, Yang Ming also had his own things to do. It was impossible to watch Uncle Ma 24 hours a day. Because of Li Dadong's matter, Yang Ming was delayed for a while. When he returned home, it was already past 10 o'clock. However, his parents didn't sleep. They were watching TV on the sofa. Seeing that Yang Ming came back, Yang Dahai looked up and asked, "How was it at Qin Mingyan's house today? How was your performance? You didn't cause trouble for others, right?" "Dad, look at what you said. It seems like I'm not sensible." Yang Ming smiled and said, "It's very good. Uncle Qin and Auntie are good to me." "It's good. I was afraid that Qin Mingyan's parents wouldn't like you." Mother Yang nodded after listening and said, "Your dad and I are nervously waiting for you to come back. We want to ask how you are." "Mom, Uncle Qin has known me for a long time. If he had a problem with me, wouldn't he have stopped me from being with Qin Mingyan?" Yang Ming said, dumbfounded. "That's true." Mother Yang nodded. She also knew that Yang Ming's original case was handled by Qin Fei. "Right, Dad, Mom." Yang Ming sat on the sofa next to Yang Dahai. "I have something to discuss with you." "What's the matter?" Yang Dahai looked at Yang Ming with some puzzlement. "If you have something to say, just say it. Why are you so mysterious with your parents?" "It's like this," Yang Ming said with a smile. "Qin Mingyan's parents have a different opinion about Qin Mingyan staying over at our house during Chinese New Year." "Then forget it." Mother Yang immediately said, "You and Mingyan aren't married yet. She's also a child. I said that this matter isn't easy to handle. Qin Mingyan came to our house, but didn't we leave her parents at home?" "Mom, listen to me first." Yang Ming quickly waved his hand and said, "Uncle Qin didn't mean that. Uncle Qin meant to see if the two families can celebrate Chinese New Year together." "Celebrate Chinese New Year together?" You mean your dad and Qin Mingyan's parents are all together? Mother Yang asked with some surprise. And that's what Uncle Qin meant. He felt that Mingyan's parents and I should meet, so he decided on our matter. Yang Ming explained, another reason is that it will be more lively with more people during the Chinese New Year. This is a good idea. Yang Dahai nodded and said, I agree, but our house is small. It seems that we can't sit together. Hee, I have already talked to Uncle Qin about this problem in advance. Uncle Qin said that we can go to his house. His house is bigger. Yang Ming said. Won't that disturb them? Mother Yang asked with some worry. Fainting, Mom, Uncle Qin invited us to be guests. How can we disturb them? Yang Ming was helpless after listening. That's good. I agree. This is a good idea. Mother Yang said. Then it's settled? I will talk to Mingyan later. Yang Ming asked. Okay, it's settled then. Yang Dahai said, however, you should ask your mom to call them first. We need to discuss the specifics so that we can prepare in advance. No problem. Wait for me to talk to Mingyan tomorrow. The rest will be discussed in detail. Anyway, there are still a few days before Chinese New Year. Yang Ming nodded. Yang Ming accompanied his parents to watch the local TV show for a while. When he was going back to the house, Yang Dahai suddenly stopped Yang Ming. Big Ming, wait a minute. What's wrong, Dad? Dad? Yang Ming turned and asked. Do you know that your uncle opened a hotel? Yang Dahai asked. And I heard about it from my big sister. What's wrong? Yang Ming naturally couldn't say that he had talked to Yang Dahai, so he responded casually. It will open tomorrow. Your uncle called today and asked us to go over tomorrow. Yang Dahai said, do you have other things to do tomorrow? Uncle Yang Dashan's hotel will open? Yang Ming was stunned. He didn't expect his uncle to act so fast. There was just a result a few days ago and he opened it in a few days. However, why didn't he call me for the opening? Yang Ming hesitated a little and understood his uncle's meaning. The relationship between him and Yang Ming couldn't be known by Yang Dahai. Therefore, to invite Yang Ming, he simply called Yang Dahai and asked him to bring Yang Ming over. This and informing Yang Ming and letting Yang Ming inform Yang Dahai were two very different effects. Tomorrow it should be fine. What time? Yang Ming asked. Are Xiaobo and the others going? Your third uncle's house should also go. Tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock. If it's okay, let's go together. Yang Dahai said. Okay, I will go. Yang Ming responded and went back to the room. For his uncle's business, Yang Ming was still a little uneasy. Although Yang Ming joked that he would like Yang Dashan to make a loss to fulfill his father's words. However, since Yang Ming knew the resentment between his uncle and his father, he somewhat understood his uncle's mood. It wasn't wrong for his uncle to like to do business. It was just because his father's thoughts were too conservative that the few brothers had a conflict. Therefore, Yang Ming felt that it was necessary to remind Yang Dashan. Back in the room, Yang Ming called Yang Dashan. Oh, this is Big Ming. After the phone was connected, Yang Ming said, Big Ming, I knew you would definitely call your uncle. Uncle's hearty laughter came from the phone. Uncle's entertainment city will open tomorrow. How about it? Do you want to come and support? I will definitely go. Yang Ming smiled and said, but uncle, I have something to ask you. You must tell me truthfully. You are still doing this with uncle. You are being so mysterious. What is it? Uncle didn't take it seriously and thought that Yang Ming was joking. The opening of the entertainment city was lively. People from all sides of Songjiang came to support, but most of them came for Bao Sanli and Ho Zhenhan. Both the underworld and the legal world knew that Bao Sanli had a share in the entertainment city, so they dispelled the idea of finding trouble with Tianjiao Entertainment City in the future. After eating, Yang Ming's parents left. During the meal, Yang Dashan just came over to give a toast and didn't say anything else. Yang Ming's parents couldn't stand this noisy atmosphere. They belonged to the kind of people who preferred silence. Even if it was lively, it would be with the people they were familiar with. They only lived in their small circle. Like today, it was a group of strangers eating together. His parents were a little uncomfortable, so they left early after eating. Yang Ming was chatting with Yang Xiaobo. The two people chatted happily. Yang Ming's parents didn't take Yang Ming with them. They just told him to go back by himself later. Big brother, uncle's entertainment city is really luxurious. Yang Xiaobo said with some envy. Xiaobo, you are now in the stage of learning. Don't think about these useless things. Yang Ming said with a lecturing tone. Don't come here secretly to play. How can I? I don't have money even if I want to play. The expenses here are definitely not cheap. Yang Xiaobo said with some astonishment. If you come, can I still charge you money? Yang Li interrupted at this time. If you want to come, sister will bring you here to play. Yang Ming listened to Yang Li's words and immediately glared at her. Xiaobo is in high school. Don't always encourage him to do these useless things. After Yang Li went through that incident, she was still very afraid of Yang Ming's words. However, she was used to it. She whispered at Humph and said, well, after your college entrance examination, I will bring you to play. After the college entrance examination? That was 3 years later. It was hard to say whether this entertainment city could last until then. Big brother. I was thinking about the class reunion after a few days. I want to bring them here. Is that okay? Yang Xiaobo said to Yang Ming timidly. Xiaobo, why didn't you tell your big sister about this? Why did you tell Yang Ming? Isn't this entertainment city opened by his family? Although Yang Li didn't dare to act in front of Yang Ming, the tone of a person's words couldn't be changed. When it came to this entertainment city, Yang Li's words were somewhat complacent. Yang Ming rolled his eyes at Yang Li again. I haven't seen you for a few days. Did your original temper come back? Yang Li was a little wronged, but she didn't dare to refute Yang Ming's words. She had to say, Xiaobo, if your big brother agrees, then it's fine. Yang Xiaobo didn't know what happened between Yang Ming and Yang Li. At this moment he saw that his arrogant big sister was actually so afraid of his big brother's words. He couldn't help but feel a little strange. However, he wasn't stupid. He knew that some things couldn't be asked in front of the two people, so he pretended not to see it. After a few days? Yang Ming frowned. You aren't here to freeload, right? How can that be? We are going Dutch, but we haven't found a suitable place. Yang Xiaobo said, but big sister, you have to ask uncle to give us a discount. Don't mention a discount. It's fine even if it's free of charge. Yang Li said generously. It's fine if it's free of charge. If it's free of charge, then it's free of charge for me and my girlfriend. Yang Xiaobo said with a smile. No problem. Yang Li made the decision. Yang Ming couldn't help but shake his head. This Yang Li really didn't know her father's current situation. Perhaps Yang Dashan didn't realize it either. In the beginning of the opening, many relatives and friends came here to support. If it was all free of charge, then how could they make money? It seemed that one portion was nothing, but there were too many. The 200,000 yuan in his hand wasn't enough to entertain them. However, there were some words that Yang Ming couldn't say. He would see the situation when the time came. Although Bao Sanli's investment was also from him, Yang Ming wasn't afraid. Even if it was a loss, the house and equipment would still be there in the end. After chatting for a while, Yang Ming got up and said, you guys chat first. I'll go over there and take a look. Yang Ming got up and came to Bao Sanli and Ho Junhan's table. Brother Bao, brother Ho. Brother Yang, sit. Bao Sanli saw Yang Ming coming over and smiled. I wanted to look for you just now. I saw that your parents were here, so I didn't say hello. Yang Ming, how are you recently? Ho Junhan's superficial relationship with Yang Ming wasn't familiar, so it was impossible for him to call him Brother Yang. Not bad. Yang Ming smiled and nodded. Brother Bao, the recent development is good. I still rely on Brother Ho. Otherwise, I can't do such a big business myself. Bao Sanli naturally couldn't talk about Mr. Y in front of outsiders. This was currently in a confidential state. Except for him and Ho Junhan, no one knew that there was a boss behind it. Brother Yang, are you free later? If you are free, come to visit my company. Bao Sanli invited. Is it the Ming Yang Security Company? Asked Yang Ming. Yes, it's the security company. Bao Sanli nodded. Ming Yang, why does this company sound more like mine? Ming Yang, Yang Ming. Yang Ming smiled. Sure enough. Bao Sanli also nodded and smiled. It's the name given by Brother Ho. Well, I happen to be free. Let's go and have a look. Yang Ming smiled. Besides, it's my own security company. How can I not go and have a look? Yang Ming's words sounded like a joke about the company's name to Bao Sanli, but Ho Junhan heard the double meaning in Yang Ming's words, but he didn't show it. In fact, Yang Ming also wanted to see how Ho Junhan managed the security company. After all, this was also his own industry. Originally, there was no excuse to visit. Now that there was a chance, there was no harm in having a look. Chapter 553. Okay, then let's go together in a while. Bao Sanli nodded and said, just in time to try the new car I bought, the BMW X5. You bought a new car? Yang Ming was stunned and looked up at Ho Junhan. Bao Sanli already drove a BMW. Would he still drive the scrapped broken Jetta? And the security company's business has been good recently. Brother Ho proposed to buy a good car to keep up appearances. I thought the same, so I bought a BMW. Bao Sanli smiled. I see. Yang Ming nodded. If he was running a company, he should buy a luxury car. If he drove a broken car, he would be laughed at by others for not being capable enough. After the meal, Yang Ming, Yang Li and Yang Xiaobo said goodbye. Then they went out of Entertainment City with Bao Sanli and Ho Junhan and came to the parking lot in front. How is it? This car is good, right? Bao Sanli proudly patted the brand new BMW X5 and said, I just bought it for less than half a month. Yang Ming looked at the brand new BMW shining in the sun and suddenly had a very uncomfortable feeling. Suddenly, the picture in front of Yang Ming changed into another picture. The BMW slowly drove out of the parking lot of Entertainment City and entered the main road. When it passed a traffic light, the brakes suddenly lost control and hit a bus. Brother Yang, what's wrong with you? Bao Sanli saw Yang Ming in a daze and asked curiously. No, nothing. Yang Ming shook his head. What happened to me these 2 days? Why do I always have hallucinations? The previous time it was Wang Shifan who killed people. This time it was the BMW's brakes that failed. Moreover, it was very clear. Now the scene was still fresh in Yang Ming's mind. Get in the car, hee. Brother Yang, why don't you go up and try the comfort of this car? Bao Sanli said with a smile. Wait. Yang Ming shuddered. Some things were better to believe than not. What Yang Ming saw just now was too real and too terrifying. What's wrong? Ho Junhan was also a bit baffled, but he had always treated Yang Ming's words as an imperial edict. Brother Bao, Brother Ho, did anyone touch this car in the parking lot? Yang Ming suddenly asked. There shouldn't be anyone. I'm afraid of being scratched by someone. I even found an underling to watch the car. After Bao Sanli finished, he waved to a person not far away. You come here. What is it? Brother Bao. When the man heard Bao Sanli calling him, he quickly ran over. What's your name? Bao Sanli couldn't remember the name of this underling. My name is Wu Ming. The little brother replied. Wu Ming? Yang Ming's heart skipped a beat. Isn't Wu Ming nameless? This person's name was. Did someone touch my car? Bao Sanli asked. No, I've been watching it. Wu Ming said with a smile. Who dares to touch Brother Bao's car? Isn't he tired of living? That's true. Bao Sanli said proudly. Brother Yang, aren't you overthinking it? Who can touch my car? Although Bao Sanli didn't understand what Yang Ming meant, Yang Ming doubted that someone touched his car. Wasn't that belittling him? Couldn't he control others? Brother Bao, I think you should check the car. I heard that some children were naughty and damaged the car's brake system. Yang Ming frowned and said. When he said this, Yang Ming secretly paid attention to the expression of this underling named Wu Ming. As a result, this person's face was normal. There was no unnaturalness at all. However, it was precisely because the more natural it was, the more Yang Ming felt that there was a problem. The more he doubted this underling named Wu Ming. Generally speaking, as the underling who watched the car for Bao Sanli, if someone said that the car was touched or damaged, he would definitely defend himself. It was impossible to be so indifferent. Therefore, Yang Ming secretly paid attention to this guy's movements. It can't be, right? Bao Sanli was a bit puzzled. Why did Yang Ming suddenly say this? I think it's better to check it. Something just happened a few days ago. Ho Junhan was worried. Now that he heard Yang Ming's hint, he immediately felt that things were unusual. So he whispered to Bao Sanli, Brother Bao, Yang Ming is right. It's better to check it. Besides, it hasn't been very peaceful recently. Seeing that Ho Junhan said so, Bao Sanli had no opinion. Besides, he had just been stabbed a few days ago. Although it wasn't a big deal, he didn't recover fully. Now that he thought about it, he was a little scared. Especially when he heard Ho Junhan's last sentence, he couldn't help but worry. You go and check the car. Bao Sanli instructed the man named Wu Ming. Okay, Brother Bao. Wu Ming's eyes flashed with a strange light. It was the kind of look of relief. Yang Ming had been paying attention to him, so he saw his expression. At this moment he saw that his expression was very strange, so he quickly kicked Ho Junhan with his foot. Ho Junhan immediately understood and said, "Let me check it myself." In a flash, Wu Ming suddenly turned around. He didn't know when there was a sharp knife in his hand and he stabbed toward Ho Junhan. "Be careful," shouted Yang Ming. Ho Junhan was a special forces soldier. His reaction ability was excellent. He was also very comfortable with sudden changes. Seeing that there was a sharp knife, he quickly dodged back and then lifted his foot to kick Wu Ming in front of him. Wu Ming's reaction was faster. When he saw that his attack didn't hit, he immediately stopped entangling. Instead, he raised the knife and stabbed Bao Sanli on the side. Bao Sanli's reaction wasn't as fast as Ho Junhan's. Seeing that the sharp knife was about to be inserted into his abdomen, Bao Sanli was also a little dumbfounded. He couldn't avoid it. "Pa," there was a soft sound. Wu Ming groaned. The sharp knife in his hand immediately fell to the ground and a 1 yuan coin fell with the sharp knife. "There is an expert." Wu Ming's heart was stunned. However, Ho Junhan in front of him didn't look like an expert. According to He Shu and Feng Dao, who went back last time, Ho Junhan's kung fu could only be said to be average. It belonged to the more ferocious kind. It was easy to deal with ordinary people, but his kung fu was not suitable for dealing with the insidious method of a first-class assassin. The strength of the coin that hit his hand was very powerful. This kind of hidden weapon technique was definitely not something that a person like Ho Junhan could do. Kid actually hit the dagger in his hand. Wu Ming couldn't help but be frightened. Seeing that Wu Ming's dagger fell, Ho Junhan immediately attacked. Yang Ming secretly breathed a sigh of relief. He just saved Bao Sanli. He was afraid that his technique would be exposed, but obviously no one noticed him. Bao Sanli now had a lingering fear. He didn't have time to think about the reason for the change just now. Yang Ming now hoped that Ho Junhan could take care of Wu Ming in front of him, but Yang Ming was disappointed. Ho Junhan and Wu Ming's kung fu were not on the same level at all. Ho Junhan's moves were mostly about capturing the enemy and attacking, but Wu Ming's moves were fatal. Every move was ruthless and aimed directly at Ho Junhan's vital points. Ho Junhan had no choice but to keep defending. For a while he was busy defending. He couldn't even take care of himself, let alone take down Wu Ming. However, this Wu Ming's kung fu was obviously not good enough. It was only slightly better than He Shu and Feng Dao, whom Yang Ming had seen. At that time, Yang Ming was still struggling to deal with He Shu and Feng Dao because at that time, Yang Ming had not been an assassin for a long time. But now it was different. With the guidance of Feng Tian, and Yang Ming was also very diligent, his level had improved by leaps and bounds. Now looking at Wu Ming, he felt a little condescending. Although Wu Ming's moves were vicious, Ho Junhan was not weak. Although he couldn't attack, his defense was enough. Wu Ming couldn't help but be a little anxious. Originally, his identity couldn't be exposed. If the police were attracted after a long battle, then he would be in trouble. Therefore Wu Ming now had the intention to retreat. He was not ready to continue to entangle with Ho Junhan. Wu Ming had some regrets. He blamed himself for being too arrogant. When he saw that He Shu and Feng Dao did not complete the mission, he took the initiative to ask the Black Widow to accept this mission. But he didn't expect that he would be the one to embarrass himself. Yang Ming frowned. Wu Ming's skill was very similar to He Shu and Feng Dao. Obviously they were from the same lineage. If I catch Wu Ming, I may be able to figure out a lot of things. Thinking of this, Yang Ming had the idea of keeping Wu Ming. Originally he hoped that Ho Junhan could keep this person, but now it seemed that it was impossible. It was good enough that Ho Junhan was not injured. Yang Ming hesitated in his heart. Should I make a move? If I make a move, the fact that I know Kung Fu can't be hidden. My identity as an assassin will be exposed. Chapter 554. Although there were no outsiders here now, he couldn't guarantee that Bao Sanli wouldn't speak about it. If Yang Ming wanted him to shut up, the first was to kill him. This was obviously not a good way. As for the rest, he could only use his other identity to suppress him. That was Mr. Y, the behind-the-scenes boss. Only by using his identity as the behind-the-scenes boss to deter Bao Sanli, he wouldn't speak about today's matter. Yang Ming didn't think about using Mr. Y's name to give Bao Sanli a gag order after he made a move, but that would be more problematic. Why would Mr. Y keep it a secret for Yang Ming? Even if Bao Sanli was stupid, there was no necessary connection before and after, right? That might arouse his suspicion, so he might as well reveal his identity to the public. Moreover, using this assassin's attack was also a good opportunity to establish his prestige. Thinking of this, Yang Ming simply let it go. Seeing that Wu Ming wanted to escape, he immediately blocked in front of him. Get out of the way. Wu Ming couldn't be stopped for a long time. He wanted to leave, but he didn't expect Yang Ming, who was silent just now, to actually block him. Since you are here, then stay, Yang Ming said faintly. You are overestimating yourself. Wu Ming didn't put Yang Ming in his eyes at all. He snorted coldly and his right hand clawed toward Yang Ming's face. If it was a month ago, Yang Ming might be afraid of this person's fierce and ruthless moves, but now it was different. Yang Ming didn't put Wu Ming's moves in his eyes at all. He was fast, but Yang Ming was faster than him. His moves were ruthless, but Yang Ming was more ruthless than him. Yang Ming learned the killing moves from Fong Tian, so it was just right to deal with Wu Ming. Yang Ming didn't want to defeat the enemy in one move. Although it could show off his strength in a sense, it might cause others to say that he was lucky in it. Therefore Yang Ming decided to play with him first. Bao Sanli had seen Yang Ming fight before, but this time was obviously different. Bao Sanli was very clear about Ho Junhan's skill. He was a special forces soldier. Even if he was not good, he was much stronger than ordinary people. But even if it was Ho Junhan, it was very difficult to deal with the person in front of him now. But Yang Ming was at ease. He didn't show any weakness. Originally, Bao Sanli only thought that Yang Ming fought with a fierce force, but he didn't expect that his skills were also very strong. It was Ho Junhan's first time seeing Yang Ming make a move. He couldn't help but be shocked. He was already very conceited about his kung fu, but in front of this Wu Ming he couldn't gain the slightest advantage. Instead he was at a disadvantage. But Yang Ming was different. Ho Junhan could see at a glance that Yang Ming hadn't used his full strength yet. At the same time as he was surprised, Ho Junhan was secretly shocked. Brother Yang really didn't reveal his true strength. No wonder his appetite is so big. He wants to swallow the underworld of Songjiang all of a sudden. It seems that Brother Yang really has that strength. Previously, Ho Junhan was only respectful to Yang Ming. He worked for Yang Ming because Yang Ming saved his mother. Ho Junhan was a righteous person. Yang Ming helped him, so he would work for Yang Ming wholeheartedly. However, after this scene, Ho Junhan's initial respect for Yang Ming had turned into awe. Wu Ming didn't put Yang Ming in his eyes at first, but when the master made a move, it was obvious whether it was real or not. After exchanging 2 moves with Yang Ming, Wu Ming knew that it wasn't good. Although it seemed that neither of them had gained an advantage, in fact, they had already suffered a big loss. Songjiang actually has such a master. It seems that only my boss, the Black Widow, can compete with him. Thinking of this, Wu Ming didn't want to continue the fight. It wasn't the style of an assassin to fight if the opponent wasn't strong enough. An assassin would run away as soon as he encountered a stronger opponent. It was the style of a fool to act recklessly. However, Yang Ming was different from Yang Ming. If Wu Ming wanted to run, he had to be able to run first. Yang Ming was just playing with him now. He hadn't used his full strength yet. Of course, Yang Ming wouldn't let him run away. Brother, which path are you from? This has nothing to do with you. I hope you don't intervene. Otherwise, some forces aren't something you can touch. Wu Ming saw that he couldn't get away, so he warned. Hee, are you trying to scare me? Yang Ming said with some amusement. This Wu Ming in front of me is obviously weaker than me by more than 1 level. He actually dares to boast shamelessly. I'm just reminding you kindly. If you go against us, there won't be a good end. Wu Ming faintly warned, you'd better not be meddlesome. You guys. Who are you guys? Yang Ming asked indifferently. This, you don't need to know. Wu Ming certainly wouldn't say his own organization. The more you know, the more trouble there will be. Really? What is the relationship between you and the fat man and the thin man? Yang Ming smiled and asked coldly, I'm looking for the 2 of them now, but it seems that you must have a relationship with them. Then don't blame me for keeping you. If you know a lot, huh? Turns out that you already have a grudge. When Wu Ming heard Yang Ming say this, he knew that Yang Ming wouldn't let him go. He was ready to fight to the end. Then come on. I'm not afraid of you. Is that so? Yang Ming pretended to be surprised and asked in return. Wu Ming wanted to speak, but he found that he couldn't speak. Before he could see what Yang Ming had done, he had slowly fallen to the ground. Yang Ming stood quietly behind him and shook his head. I'm afraid you are the one who overestimates yourself. Big Ho, find someone to tie him up. I have something to ask him. Yang Ming didn't care about Ho Junhan calling him Brother Ho this time, but directly instructed. Yes, Brother Yang. Ho Junhan nodded. When he saw Yang Ming instructing like this, he knew that Yang Ming was going to reveal his identity. So he quickly responded respectfully. Bao Sanli was dumbfounded. Yang Ming suddenly ordered Ho Junhan around, which made him somewhat inexplicable. If Yang Ming casually instructed, it was excusable. However, what was even stranger was that Ho Junhan actually agreed respectfully. Brother Ho, what are you doing? Bao Sanli looked at Ho Junhan, who found a rope from the back of the car and tied Wu Ming up. He asked curiously. Ho Junhan didn't answer Bao Sanli's words, but looked at Yang Ming. Because Yang Ming didn't speak, he couldn't say anything. Although he had already guessed Yang Ming's intentions, he still needed Yang Ming to say it personally. He couldn't be a busybody. This is not a place to talk. Let's go back first. Yang Ming smiled and didn't immediately say his identity. What he wanted was this effect. He wanted to maintain a sense of mystery so that Bao Sanli could be more in awe of him. Okay. Bao Sanli nodded in bewilderment. It could be said that Ho Junhan was actually Bao Sanli's guide. What Ho Junhan did basically represented Mr. Y's intentions. So when Bao Sanli saw Ho Junhan being obedient to Yang Ming, he didn't dare to say anything. Throwing Wu Ming into the back seat of the BMW, Ho Junhan closed the door and started the car. Wait. Yang Ming waved his hand and quickly stopped Ho Junhan. What's wrong, Brother Yang? Ho Junhan asked curiously. See if there is a problem with the car's braking system. In addition to figuring out Wu Ming's identity, what Yang Ming wanted to know the most now was whether there was a problem with the BMW's braking system. It was because the feeling he had just now was too weird. The scene in front of him was so real. If it was fake, Yang Ming didn't know how he imagined it. So now Yang Ming was very eager to confirm this fact. If things were really like what he had just seen, then the scene of Wang Shifan killing and dumping the body at Qin Mingyan's house should be true. Ho Junhan didn't understand why Yang Ming was so sure that there was a problem with the car's braking system, but he had always listened to Yang Ming's words. This was also for the sake of personal safety, so he couldn't be careless. So Ho Junhan nodded and personally checked the BMW's braking system. It didn't take long for Ho Junhan to exclaim, "Who removed the brake pads?" What? Bao Sanli was immediately shocked and quickly leaned over. Is it true? Really, if it weren't for Brother Yang, we would probably die here today, Ho Junhan said with lingering fear. Bao Sanli looked up and looked at Yang Ming with some surprise. He didn't expect Yang Ming to be so accurate. He could guess that the car was tampered with in advance. He was even more surprised about Yang Ming's identity. Chapter 555. Call someone to repair the car. Let's take another car. Yang Ming instructed faintly. Okay. Ho Junhan nodded and called his underling to ask him to send a car to pick them up. Because there was a fainted Wu Ming, Yang Ming couldn't take a taxi back. It would be suspicious, so they could only wait for the underling to drive over. Fortunately, it wasn't far from the Nightless Club. Especially since Ho Junhan personally instructed, the underling didn't dare to delay. He quickly drove to the entrance of Tianjiao Entertainment City. It was actually Ho Junhan's scrapped Jetta. Yang Ming smiled bitterly. After a long time, he didn't get to sit in the BMW. In the end, he still got to sit in this car. Ho Junhan was also a little embarrassed. Brother Yang, after the BMW is repaired, you can drive it for 2 days. No need. I plan to buy a car in a few days. Yang Ming waved his hand. I'm going to school now. Driving this BMW in school will make people jealous. That's true. Ho Junhan nodded. Songjiang Industry University was also a famous university in the province, but there weren't many students who actually drove to school. It wasn't like those online YY novels where Lamborghinis, Ferrari, Porsche and Rolls-Royce were everywhere. Like Wang Jitao, those who could drive a Honda Accord were already considered very rich people. Most of the other students who drove were cheap cars like Honda Ferry, Hafei Racer, Swift and BYD. If they drove a Mercedes-Benz or BMW to school, They would probably be famous in school the next day. Yang Ming was now famous enough in school. He didn't want to be noticed in this aspect. After getting in the car, Ho Junhan drove the car. The three of them drove to the nightless club. The BMW X5 was contacted by the underling to get a tow truck from the 4S store. Along the way, Yang Ming didn't speak. Ho Junhan naturally couldn't say anything. He wanted to ask, but Ho Junhan had been keeping silent. Bao Sanli couldn't ask anything anymore. Originally, Bao Sanli wanted to ask Yang Ming, but he saw that Ho Junhan was very respectful to Yang Ming. For a while he couldn't figure out the identity of Yang Ming. However, judging from Ho Junhan's attitude, he was not so respectful to Yang Ming out of courtesy. Although Bao Sanli was also very respectful to Yang Ming, it was different. It was out of courtesy. Back at the nightless club, Yang Ming did not explain too much. Instead he said to Ho Junhan, "Find an empty room. I want to interrogate this Wu Ming." "Okay, brother Yang." Ho Junhan nodded and immediately ordered an underling to come over and handle this matter. There was nothing else in the nightless club, but there were plenty of empty rooms. He casually found an empty room and threw Wu Ming in. Then Yang Ming, Ho Junhan and Bao Sanli entered the room together. Big Ho closed the door. Yang Ming didn't want other people in the gang to know about his matters. After Ho Junhan heard it, he closed the door and locked it from the inside. Bao Sanli was even more inexplicable. He finally couldn't help but ask, "Brother Ho, brother Yang, what are you doing?" Yang Ming smiled and didn't answer. Ho Junhan patted Bao Sanli's shoulder and said, "Don't worry. You will understand in a while." When Bao Sanli heard Ho Junhan say this, he knew that it was useless to ask further. He could only wait and see the development of the situation. "Do we need to ask someone to bring a bucket of cold water to wake him up?" asked Ho Junhan. "No need." Yang Ming shook his head and glanced at Wu Ming, who was motionless on the ground. He suddenly lifted his foot and kicked over. He kicked directly on one of Wu Ming's acupoints. This acupoint wasn't a fatal acupoint. It just helped the unconscious person wake up as soon as possible, but if the strength of the blow was too strong, then it was another story. Yang Ming's kick wasn't small. While Wu Ming was awake, it was also painful. After waking up with a Nao, he clenched his teeth and no longer made any painful cries. It seemed that this Wu Ming's endurance was also very strong. The scream when he woke up was completely subconscious. After he completely woke up, he closed his mouth. Even if it was painful, he didn't make any sound. "What are you shouting for?" Yang Ming pulled a chair and sat in front of Wu Ming. He crossed his legs and asked. "Humph." Wu Ming snorted in a low voice and lowered his head. He didn't answer Yang Ming's question. "Why? You don't want to say it?" Yang Ming smiled and looked at Wu Ming. "I have 10,000 ways to make you speak, but I don't want to use them. If you have the ability, then kill me." Wu Ming was tough and he said directly. Wu Ming actually understood that if he betrayed the organization, even if he went back, it would be a dead end. With the Black Widow's style, it was impossible to keep him alive. Don't look at the Black Widow's usually soft and weak appearance. If she was really angry, then he could only wait for death. Ha! Yang Ming couldn't help but laugh after hearing it. "Isn't it easy to kill you? Who do you think you are?" "Wu Ming. I think you are John Doe. Don't think that you can fool me with a random name." Wu Ming was silent and said, "So what if I know? I'm nameless, I've forgotten my own name." "Ha! In fact, it doesn't matter to me if you don't say your name. A name is just a code name. Even if I know your real name, so what?" Yang Ming shrugged indifferently. "Well, I will call you Wu Ming for the time being. Then you tell me about the so-called organization behind you." Wu Ming didn't even bother to open his mouth this time. He closed his eyes directly. He looked like a dead pig that wasn't afraid of boiling water. "Brother Yang, do you want me to teach him a lesson? This kid is stubborn." Ho Junhan bowed and whispered to Yang Ming, "You go ahead." Yang Ming nodded. Chapter 556. Wu Ming's heart was stunned. He now regretted that he had recklessly accepted this mission from He Shu and Feng Dao. Originally he thought that this mission was very simple. It was just to injure a gang's boss and not to take his life. This kind of mission seemed very simple, but he didn't expect Yang Ming to appear halfway. Originally he thought that he would die anyway and Yang Ming might not really be able to kill him, so he held an attitude of a dead pig that was not afraid of boiling water and endured it. However, he didn't expect that after enduring the tough blows, Yang Ming would use some unknown method to make him suddenly feel a strange pain all over his body. It was really unbearable. "Kill me." Wu Ming groaned in pain. Yang Ming didn't bother with him but said to himself, 10 minutes, I will give you 10 minutes. After 10 minutes there will be more fun. When Yang Ming said this, not only Bao Sanli and Ho Junhan stared at each other, but even Wu Ming, who was in pain, almost fainted. There's more. I can't stand it anymore. How can there be more? However, this Wu Ming is really patient. Yang Ming still underestimated him. After rolling on the ground for 10 minutes, he didn't say a word. Yang Ming had no choice but to do a few more hits on the other acupoints in his body. This made Wu Ming more painful. Although it was easy to cause his body to die, Yang Ming couldn't help it. To deal with people who were stubborn, he had to use some extreme means. Fortunately, this guy's physical fitness was much stronger than ordinary people, so he wouldn't die in a short time. I'll talk, Wu Ming suddenly shouted. Oh, that's good. Yang Ming leaned over and looked at Wu Ming with interest. Say it. Since you are going to die anyway, it is better to hit the wall and die now. The Black Widow will not let you go. Suddenly, a voice sounded in Yang Ming's mind. Not good. Yang Ming thought to himself. No wonder this brat had such a strange expression. It turned out that he wanted to take the opportunity to commit suicide. Yang Ming looked around. There was a wall not far from Wu Ming, and at this moment he was intentionally or unintentionally rubbing against the wall at the same time. However, what was that Black Widow? What Black Widow wouldn't let him off? Could it be that the Black Widow was behind him? Wasn't it Guojin Biao? Could it be that he had guessed wrong? Yang Ming had some doubts. Did Bao Sanli and the others have a feud with a person called Black Widow? Yang Ming shook his head. It was a little unbelievable. He thought that Guojin Biao would wait for an opportunity to retaliate, but he didn't expect a Black Widow to appear. But now wasn't the time to think about these things. If this Wu Ming committed suicide, it wouldn't be so wonderful. Although he had found out who the mastermind behind the scenes was through special means, this was only the tip of the iceberg. He was still useful to him, so it would be a pity if he died like this. Hold him down. Yang Ming waved his hand and instructed Ho Junhan and Bao Sanli. Yes. Ho Junhan rushed over without saying anything. Instead, Bao Sanli hesitated before he came over with Ho Junhan and held down Wu Ming, who was rolling on the ground. Find a rope and tie him to the bed. Don't let him move. Yang Ming said, this brat isn't confident. Don't commit suicide by hitting the wall later. Ho Junhan was stunned. He thought Brother Yang is really too careful. However, he nodded and followed Yang Ming's instructions with Bao Sanli. Only Wu Ming, who was held down, had a look of regret on his face. His thoughts were exposed by Yang Ming. It seemed that it wouldn't be so easy to think about it again. In the midst of the pain, Wu Ming couldn't help but think, what is the identity of this young man in front of me? Not only is his means brilliant, but his judgment is also very strong. I just wanted to commit suicide and he noticed it. In order not to let this guy die in pain, Yang Ming had to reach out and unseal several of his acupuncture points. But the rest of the acupuncture points were enough to make him restless, but it wouldn't be life-threatening. Since you don't want to say it, then just stay here. Yang Ming said faintly, I will find an underling to look after you. When you want to talk, you can let him inform me. Wu Ming gritted his teeth and stared at Yang Ming with his eyes wide open. He didn't answer. Yang Ming no longer bothered with him and said to Ho Junhan, find 2 underlings to look after him. Let's find a place to talk. Ho Junhan naturally followed Yang Ming's instructions. He ordered a few of his more trusted underlings to look after Wu Ming and told them to inform him immediately when Wu Ming wanted to talk. Then he took Yang Ming and Bao Sanli to his office. Yang Ming didn't refuse. After entering the office, he sat on Ho Junhan's general manager's seat. He leisurely pointed to the opposite sofa and said to Ho Junhan and Bao Sanli, you 2 sit down. Ho Junhan nodded and sat on the opposite sofa. Only Bao Sanli didn't understand why Yang Ming suddenly put on airs. But in any case, he was deeply shocked by Yang Ming's ruthless means at the moment. Wu Ming's painful eyes made him feel a little scared when he thought about it. After sitting silently, Bao Sanli glanced at Ho Junhan next to him, but his eyes were full of questions. Let me introduce myself first. Yang Ming hesitated and said slowly, I am Mr. Y's spokesperson in the province, responsible for all the affairs in the province. Big Ho is Mr. Y's spokesperson in Songjiang. In other words, he is also my subordinate. This was the excuse that Yang Ming had thought of in advance. Although he had made up his mind to disclose his identity, he still had a little scruples. With his current identity, it was not suitable to appear as the final behind-the-scenes boss, so he simply fabricated the identity of a spokesperson. Anyway, it was almost the same. Except for Mr. Y, Yang Ming was the biggest in the province. Bao Sanli was shocked after listening to Yang Ming's words. His butt bounced up from the sofa like a spring. He looked at Yang Ming incredulously. You are also the boss man? Yang Ming smiled and nodded slowly. Yes, Brother Bao, I am Mr. Y's spokesperson in the province. In other words, I am Big Ho's boss. Bao Sanli rubbed his hands uncomfortably like a child. He didn't know what to say for a while. Although he had secretly guessed the identity of Yang Ming, he didn't expect that Yang Ming was actually his and Ho Junhan's boss. However, seeing Ho Junhan's respectful appearance just now, it seemed that what Yang Ming said was true. In this way, isn't my relationship with Yang Ming also a subordinate relationship? Moreover, my position in front of the boss is not even as good as Ho Junhan. Thinking of this, Bao Sanli sighed secretly. No wonder Yang Ming has been unwilling to come over to help me. Turns out that he already has a more prominent identity. Mr. Y's spokesperson in the province, what kind of honor is that? After the last incident where Yu Xiangda was quickly eliminated and the Four Snakes gang was driven away, Mr. Y had become an omnipotent god in Bao Sanli's heart. It was of course a kind of honor to be able to get Mr. Y's trust. Ho Junhan's skill and ability had convinced Bao Sanli. Now after seeing Yang Ming's means, Bao Sanli was even more amazed. There are so many capable people around the boss. No wonder he is so strong. The only thing Bao Sanli could do now was to follow the boss wholeheartedly. Otherwise, with the powerful strength that Yang Ming had just shown, it would be easy to kill him. This was only Yang Ming alone. God knows how many capable people under the boss who are as strong as Yang Ming or even stronger than Yang Ming. Thinking of this, Bao Sanli's mentality quickly adjusted. Everyone was working for the boss, and Yang Ming was obviously much closer to the boss than Ho Junhan. If he wanted to get the boss's favor as soon as possible, he must first get Yang Ming's approval. Therefore, Bao Sanli didn't have much thoughts. He quickly said respectfully, "It turns out that Brother Yang is the boss's confidant. Sorry for the disrespect. I have offended you before. Brother Yang, please don't mind." He. Yang Ming smiled and shook his head. "Brother Bao, with our friendship, it is meaningless to say this. You can rest assured. As long as you follow the boss and are loyal, then I will report to the boss truthfully." "Thank you, Brother Yang," Bao Sanli said happily. Originally, calling Yang Ming Brother Yang was just a kind of respect, but now it had become respect. However, I have hidden it from Brother Bao for so long. Please don't mind. Yang Ming said with some embarrassment, "You also know that the boss's orders are greater than everything. When the time is not right, I can't disclose my identity." I understand. For this, Bao Sanli didn't dare to have the slightest complaint. In his opinion, the boss's decision was right. How could he dare to say no? Chapter 557. Brother Yang, we are friends, but now we are working for the boss. Don't mess up the seniority. Don't call me Brother Bao in the future. Call me Sanli or Baozi. Bao Sanli was very sensible. Now Yang Ming's identity was not what it used to be. They were brothers, but if he messed up the seniority and the boss knew about it, it would not be so wonderful. Yang Ming did not object after listening. He nodded with a smile and acquiesced to Bao Sanli's statement. Yang Ming was also very happy that Bao Sanli was so sensible. This also saved a lot of trouble. Bao Sanli would not be arrogant just because he had a good relationship with Yang Ming. "Okay, Baozi." Yang Ming nodded. "Do a good job. The boss will not treat everyone badly." "I understand." Bao Sanli nodded solemnly. He now had no unbalanced mentality. He was also in the underworld. In his opinion, strength was everything. Yang Ming was more powerful than Ho Junhan, so it was normal for him to be the provincial spokesperson. He was not even as good as Ho Junhan, so he could only rely on hard work to fight at the bottom. What's more, Bao Sanli was already very satisfied with his current status. He was not the kind of person who was very ambitious. He fought with Yu Xiongda because of the contradiction between the two people. He was not greedy for these territories. Yang Ming glanced at Ho Junhan and nodded secretly. Fortunately, Ho Junhan was very cooperative and did not say anything inappropriate. In fact, Ho Junhan was also very surprised why Yang Ming said that he was Mr. Y's spokesperson, but Yang Ming's words were reasonable, so Ho Junhan had no objection. Seeing that the matter was solved so smoothly, Yang Ming was also very happy. After all, if the timing of the identity disclosure was not good, it would definitely cause Bao Sanli's dissatisfaction and jealousy, but he did not expect it to be solved like this. It seemed that it was very wise for him to propose that he was Mr. Y's spokesperson. In the future, when he transitioned from the spokesperson to Mr. Y, Bao Sanli would not have too many thoughts because at that time, he had already established absolute authority. Let's keep this a secret for now. Only you and Big Ho know about this. Yang Ming looked at Bao Sanli and said, "My other identity is now a student of the school. I don't want to have too much to do with the underworld. Moreover, triad affairs are only a small part of Mr. Y's overall affairs. It doesn't account for much." "Don't worry, Brother Yang." Bao Sanli nodded immediately after listening. "I know what to do. All right, if there's nothing else, I'll head back first." Yang Ming stood up. "If Wu Ming wants to say it, you can ask the behind-the-scenes mastermind. If you don't want to say it, just lock him up first. Don't kill him. I still have use for this person in the future." "Okay, Brother Yang." Ho Junhan promised, "We will look after him." In addition, you and Baozi also pay attention to your safety. Whether this person is sent by Guojinbiao or not, you have to be careful. Yang Ming said, "The boss doesn't want to see both of you die. Brother Yang, we will protect ourselves. If there is nothing else, we won't go out." Ho Junhan and Bao Sanli's expressions became serious. "Then I'm leaving." Yang Ming got up and prepared to leave. "Let me send you off, Brother Yang," Bao Sanli said quickly. Yang Ming hesitated a little and nodded in agreement. Many people knew that he and Bao Sanli were good brothers. He didn't have to hide anything, so he didn't have to hide too much. "Well, let's see how your security company is doing. Brother Yang, please." Ho Junhan opened the door for Yang Ming and followed Yang Ming with Bao Sanli. They introduced the current situation of the company to Yang Ming. The business of the Mingyang Security Company was developing very quickly. What Yang Ming didn't expect was that it had already entered the stage of profitability after only a short time of opening. Moreover, it was making a lot of money. In addition to providing security services to some hotels and entertainment venues, the company has now begun to accept personal security services. Ho Junhan introduced, those who protect the hotels and entertainment cities are basically sent by the brothers of the gangs to hold down the fort. Because of our status in the underworld of Songjiang, those entertainment cities and hotels are also very willing to spend money to hire our people. To put it bluntly, it is the legalization of protection fees. However, one is willing to take the hit and one is willing to take the hit. We don't insist now, but those bosses are rushing to ask us to go. This idea is good. It's done very well. Yang Ming nodded with relief. I really didn't see the wrong person. Ho Junhan brought a big surprise to me. However, those hotels and entertainment cities didn't have security guards before? There were security guards before. Those security guards are also there now. They are only responsible for some ordinary jobs such as taking care of the parking lot and guarding the door. When there is trouble, we still have to rely on our brothers, so those bosses are also willing to use our people. Ho Junhan explained, although our fees aren't cheap, those bosses won't care about this. After all, when running an entertainment venue, safety is the first priority. Otherwise, why would the guests go to play? That's true. Yang Ming nodded in agreement. How did you start to do personal business? This is also Brother Ho's idea. Bao Sanli smiled. Brother Ho said that a company must continue to develop. We can't always operate one business. We are gradually bleaching, so personal business is more important. Oh? What do you mean? Yang Ming asked with interest. Aren't I a retired soldier? The young man who took the lead said, in the district where the sub-district office is located, you are the only security company. If you don't want us, where can we go? Also, why don't you recruit from the society? We have signed a labor contract with the government. The staff we recruit are all veterans. Ho Jinhan explained. What's wrong? Is there personal discrimination? The young man who took the lead wasn't willing to listen. Let me tell you. Our brother's skills aren't worse than those veterans. How can you, the manager, be like this? You also divide people into different classes? Ho Jinhan was speechless after listening. This young man in front of me is really stubborn. He is too honest. How is this discrimination? Chapter 558. Even Yang Ming, who was watching all this from the side, couldn't help but laugh. He looked at the young man in front of him and asked, "You mean you are very powerful?" "Of course." The young man replied proudly, "For example, I can beat 3 or 4 of you by myself." When this was said, both Bao Sanli and Ho Jinhan widened their eyes. No way. This guy really doesn't need to pay taxes for bragging. He dares to say anything. He can beat 3 or 4 of Yang Ming. Ho Jinhan didn't dare to say that he could beat Yang Ming with 3 or 4 of him, let alone 1 against 3 or 4. Is that so? Yang Ming looked at the young man in front of him. His heart moved and he asked, "What were you originally doing?" "We all graduated from martial arts schools. We were thinking of killing the rich to help the poor. We didn't expect it to be so difficult to find a job." When the young man said this, his face suddenly had some bitterness. "Killing the rich to help the poor?" Yang Ming said with a smile, "You want to apply for a security guard, so first of all, there is a problem with your thinking. What is killing the rich to help the poor? This is not the old society. Those who hire bodyguards are all rich people. If you kill them and rob them, who will dare to hire you in the future?" The young man was immediately embarrassed. He scratched his head and said, "I just said it casually. It means that our skills aren't weak, but we can't find a suitable job. To tell you the truth, we have more than 30 people. We are all waiting for a meal." "More than 30 people?" Yang Ming took a deep breath. "How come there are so many of you? There are more than 100 of us who graduated from the martial arts school this year. None of us were assigned jobs. We are all from the same hometown in the Northeast, so we came back together. Except for a few who found jobs as guards in government agencies and institutions, we are all unemployed at home." The young man explained. "Let me see your letters of recommendation and graduation certificates." Yang Ming hesitated and said, "Can you keep your words? Can you represent this company?" The young man asked carefully. "Brother Yang asked you to take it out. Hurry up and take it out. Don't miss the opportunity." Ho Jinhan glanced at the young man and said, Okay. When the young man saw that the manager of the company had said so, it seemed that there was a way. He quickly reached out and opened the briefcase of a person behind him. He took out a large stack of certificates and handed them to Yang Ming. Yang Ming flipped through it casually. These people were indeed graduates of the same martial arts school, and they also had employment recommendations issued by the subdistrict office. There shouldn't be any problems with his identity. "You said your skills are not bad?" Yang Ming returned the materials to the young man and asked. "That's right, I already said I'm very strong." The young man patted his chest and said, "Well, you compete with him. Let me see your kung fu." Yang Ming pointed at Ho Jinhan and said, "Ah." The young man was stunned and opened his mouth wide. "This is not very good. He is the manager of the company. If I hurt him, can he still arrange a job for me? Here I have the final say." Yang Ming said faintly, "I let you compete. You show me your real skills. Otherwise, leave immediately. The opportunity is in front of you. Whether you can seize it or not, it depends on your own performance." "Well, for the brothers, I will go all out." The young man clenched his teeth and said, "But I have a request. Even if I hurt him, if you want to retaliate against me, you can leave me. But for my brothers, you have to at least solve the job problems of 3, no 5 people." "Okay, I promise you." Yang Ming smiled. "This guy isn't as honest as he looks. He is still a bit scheming. Not bad. If he really has the ability, he will become a good sword by my side after some training. Come on." The young man walked to the center of the company hall and said to Ho Jinhan. Ho Jinhan didn't move. He turned to look at Yang Ming. Yang Ming said with some helplessness, "I say, you can't stand at the door of our company if you want to compete. Let's go. Take him to a training room." After listening to Yang Ming's words, Ho Jinhan and Bao Sanli took the young man, a total of 5 people to find an empty training room. After closing the door, Yang Ming nodded to Ho Junhan and said, "You go. Don't be merciful." Ho Junhan turned and greeted the young man. Although the young man said that he hurt Ho Junhan, he had already been merciful. After all, he was asking others to find a job for them to make a living. If he really hurt Ho Junhan, it wouldn't be good for anyone. However, when Ho Junhan made a move, the young man's brows immediately frowned, and his expression became much more serious. He had already felt the pressure. Ho Junhan wasn't simple. The young man originally thought that the company's boss wouldn't know any kung fu. He didn't expect that Ho Junhan not only knew kung fu, but also wasn't weak. The young man had to take it seriously. Originally he intended to be perfunctory, but now it became a real competition. Ho Junhan was instructed by Yang Ming. He was merciless and fierce, which made the young man who was unprepared, somewhat unprepared. However, gradually the young man could actually counter Ho Junhan's attacks. Yang Ming was stunned. He knew what kind of skills Ho Junhan had. Although he wasn't as good as himself, he was also one of the best among normal people. This young man could actually resist Ho Junhan's fierce attack. Moreover, what made Yang Ming more and more surprised was that this young man could not only defend, but after gradually understanding Ho Junhan's moves, he also began to tentatively attack. Good. Yang Ming cheered in his heart, but there was no expression on his face. However, Yang Ming's heart was quickly calculating some things. Since Ho Junhan and Bao Sanli were attacked by assassins, Yang Ming felt that he was somewhat powerless. Although his skills could be said to be very badass, it was only him alone. For many things, Yang Ming couldn't do everything respectfully. For example, Guo Jinbiao's matter. Yang Ming was so busy recently that he didn't have the mind to go to Jiduan City to find trouble with Guo Jinbiao. But if he had people under him, this kind of small matter could be handed over to them. Of course, the so-called people under him didn't refer to Ho Junhan and Bao Sanli. They were his own forces on the surface, and the direction of development was also based on their career. What Yang Ming was thinking was, can I have more talents similar to assassins under my command? Even if they weren't as good as me, at least they can be independent after my training. This was the so-called dark forces. Many things that were inconvenient for Ho Junhan and the others to do could be handed over to the dark forces. Therefore, when Yang Ming saw the young man and the others, he immediately had the idea of recruiting them for his own use. However, whether these people could be of great use still needed to be examined, so Yang Ming proposed to let the young man compete with Ho Junhan. But now it seemed that this person's skills were not bad. It was not bad to be able to tie with Ho Junhan. Previously, Yang Ming didn't think about recruiting some veterans to form his own dark forces, but then Yang Ming dispelled this idea. The people who came out of the army were more upright. If they were asked to do something like murder and robbery, many people might disagree. Even if they reluctantly did it for the sake of living, they wouldn't feel comfortable in their hearts. But these people in front of him were different. They graduated from martial arts schools. Their thoughts were not so deeply rooted in the distinction between good and evil. It was easier for Yang Ming to subdue their hearts. The reason why they learn martial arts, most people's purpose may be the same as what the young man just said, to be strong and help the weak, to kill the rich and help the poor. Therefore, this group of people who worshipped the heroes of the jungle were easier to be assimilated by Yang Ming's thoughts. Because most of the things that Yang Ming asked them to do were to take advantage of the situation, which was similar to the heroes of the jungle in the past. This was also the reason why Yang Ming was so concerned about these people. Okay, stop. Yang Ming saw that the young man was getting braver and nodded with satisfaction. What's your name? My name is Li Chong. Li from Li Shimen, Chong from Chong. They all call me Pluto. The young man stopped and said to Yang Ming. Pluto? What do you mean? Yang Ming was stunned and somewhat inexplicable. I look a bit like Pluto in Popeye, so my classmates call me Pluto. Li Chong smiled embarrassedly. It turned out to be like this. Yang Ming watched a few episodes of Popeye when he accompanied Lin Jiun to watch cartoons in Donghai, so when Li Chong explained, he remembered. Chapter 559. How are the skills of the brothers behind you? Yang Ming looked at Li Chong and asked. There are a few who are about the same as me. The others are worse than me, but not by much. Li Chong answered truthfully, I didn't expect your manager to be so powerful. If it worked. Well, if it were you, I wouldn't have to fight so hard. Yang Ming frowned. Why does this guy like to use me as an example? I am their future boss. This habit is not good. I have to kill this guy's prestige. Otherwise he won't know the immensity of heaven and earth. If it were me, then you would already be dead. Yang Ming said in a plain tone, but there was a faint sense of condescension in his tone. What? Li Chong was stunned and looked at Yang Ming in disbelief. Yang Ming didn't bother with him anymore. He just said, how many people do you have? We have a total of 39 people. Although Li Chong was a little dissatisfied with Yang Ming's words, he also knew that since Yang Ming asked this question now, it meant that he might want them, so he had to answer honestly. How many are about the same as you? Yang Ming continued to ask. There are about 6 or 7. Li Chong hesitated and said, how many? 6 or 7. Yang Ming frowned and asked. 6. Li Chong replied quickly. When he heard Yang Ming's question, he thought that Yang Ming wanted to choose the best people among them to stay, so he deliberately said one more. He didn't expect to be seen through, so he couldn't help but feel a little embarrassed. What about the rest? Yang Ming continued to ask. There are 15 people who are slightly worse than me and the others are slightly worse. Li Chong didn't dare to hide this time. Well, all 39 of you don't have a job, right? Yang Ming asked. Yes. Li Chong nodded. You can all work with me. The first fixed salary is 1,000 yuan a month. If you go on a mission, it will be calculated separately. Yang Ming nodded and said, can you accept it? Li Chong opened his mouth wide in surprise and looked at Yang Ming in a daze. Do you think it's too little or you're not willing to do it? Yang Ming asked impatiently. Well, quite a few. Are you telling the truth? All 39 of us can follow you, and you will give each of us a salary of 1,000 yuan? Li Chong stuttered in disbelief. Yes. Yang Ming nodded. If you don't have any objections, then call your brothers over. Settle down here first, I'll make arrangements for you in a few days. Okay, I'll immediately inform the brothers to come over. Boss, thank you. Thank you. Li Chong was so excited that he didn't know what to do. Today he came to this security company to apply for a job with a tentative attitude. After all, he had been rejected many times. The reason why he was so unreasonable before was that he really had no choice. There were more than 30 people. Damn it, this can't be fake sulfuric acid, right? Su Daji was somewhat inexplicable. It can't be, right? Wang Shifan took the sulfuric acid in Su Daji's hand and glanced at it. Yesterday I saw that the seller didn't look like a good person. I really didn't expect him to fool me. As Wang Shifan said this, he took the sulfuric acid and wanted to pour it on his hand. President Wang, don't. Huang Yukai saw it and quickly stopped him. But it was already too late. Wang Shifan screamed. Bubbles appeared on his left hand. With a squeak, a large piece of flesh was burned away. The sulfuric acid bottle also fell to the ground and broke. President Wang, are you okay? Huang Yukai was shocked. Why is President Wang so reckless recently? He wasn't like this before. It was no wonder. Recently Wang Shifan was distracted by Su Daji's body. He was a bit impulsive just now. He didn't care about Su Daji's body on the ground. Huang Yukai quickly took his clothes and bandaged Wang Shifan's hand. Wang Shifan still frowned because of the pain. The car was driven to the foot of the mountain with difficulty. The two people changed to a taxi to go to the hospital. After the wound was treated, Wang Shifan collapsed on the hospital bed and was given an intravenous drip. That body, what do we do? When the doctors in the ward left, Wang Shifan asked Huang Yukai with some worry. Forget it. It's nothing. I don't know how the body mutated. Huang Yukai persuaded, even if the police found it, it's not a big deal. This kind of thing may be listed as an X-file. Maybe they thought that Su Daji was captured by aliens for experiments. That makes sense. Wang Shifan thought this Huang Yukai really has a lot of ideas. The two people also breathed a sigh of relief. Now that the body had mutated, they didn't have to worry. At that time it might be treated as a scientific research topic. Wang Shifan was hospitalized. Zhou Jiejie was very anxious. If he didn't go home, then he wouldn't use the computer in the study. Then her plan to steal the information had to be postponed. Her only belief now was to get rid of the Wang family quickly so that Yang Ming wouldn't be threatened. In addition to going to Wang Shifan's house every day, Zhou Jiejia was anxious to think about how to steal the evidence of Wang Shifan's smuggling as soon as possible. Ho Zhenhan also bought an abandoned factory in the suburbs according to Yang Ming's instructions. Then he moved Li Chong and a total of 39 people to the factory. This night Yang Ming came to the factory in the suburbs. He carried a small black bag with 40,000 yuan in it. It was the first month's salary for Li Chong and others. In order to let them work for him with peace of mind, Yang Ming decided to give them the first month's money in advance. Boss. Li Chong was watching TV in the factory. When he saw Yang Ming coming, he quickly stood up and greeted him. Are all the brothers here? Yang Ming glanced around and asked. Chapter 560. Li Chong, what's the matter? Are you usually so undisciplined in the martial arts school? Don't you have any discipline? Yang Ming asked coldly. Li Chong was a little embarrassed, but Yang Ming was telling the truth. He was indeed a little undisciplined. Boss, each of us has real talent and can take charge independently. A young man said with some dissatisfaction, we are not those primary school students. What's the use of being so well organized? You think you are very capable, don't you? Yang Ming glanced at him and asked coldly. Lu Chao, stop talking. Apologize to the boss. Li Chong glared at him and reprimanded him. I didn't say anything wrong. Lu Chao said with a stiff neck, we have the strength. Everyone can take charge independently. What do we need those things for? He could. Yang Ming couldn't help but laugh. You think you are very capable, right? Then I will give you a chance. If you can beat me, I won't ask you to do anything in the future. You can do whatever you want. Otherwise, you have to listen to whatever I say in the future. Okay, this is what you said. Lu Chao didn't wait for Li Chong to speak and took a step forward. Lu Chao, you apologize to the boss right now or I won't recognize you as a brother. Li Chong was furious. It wasn't easy to find a job for his brothers. The boss said whatever. If they angered the boss, they wouldn't need them anymore. Then they would really be desperate. At that time, a hero would be stumped. No need. Yang Ming waved his hand to stop Li Chong. Who among you has the same idea as Lu Chao? You can stand up. When Yang Ming said this, a few people who were not convinced immediately stood up. Li Chong was so angry that he stomped his feet, but he couldn't do anything. Very well, you can team up and challenge me. Yang Ming looked at the few people in front of him and said faintly, that's not necessary. I can deal with you alone. Lu Chao said loudly. If I deal with you alone, I'm afraid that they won't accept it. How about this? All of you come together. Yang Ming's tone was full of contempt and disdain. You think you are very powerful just because you know some three-legged cat's tricks? To tell you the truth, I took you in as just a moment of kindness. Don't take yourself too seriously. Your kung fu isn't in my eyes. Lu Chao and a few young men who stood up. Only Li Chong secretly felt that something was wrong. When he was in the company, he thought that he could easily deal with Ho Zhenhan, but he didn't expect it to be so difficult. Therefore, when he saw that Yang Ming was full of confidence, Li Chong didn't know why. He felt that this matter seemed to be a bit suspenseful. However, Lu Chao and the others didn't think so. They thought that Yang Ming was either pretending or his brain was damaged. Or he was certain that he was the boss, so they didn't dare to do anything to him. Okay, come on. Yang Ming stretched out his index finger and said to them, hurry up. My time is limited. I don't want to waste it. Lu Chao was the most dissatisfied among these people, so he was the first to launch an attack. Seeing Lu Chao's attack, several other people also attacked without mercy. Although it seemed a bit unethical to team up to fight for the sake of face and dignity, they went all out. They just couldn't bear to see Yang Ming being arrogant in front of them. Fancy moves. Yang Ming's mouth showed a mocking smile and then he made a move. Yang Ming's attack was very simple, but few people could see it clearly, including Li Chong. Everyone only felt a blur in front of them, and Yang Ming had already completed the attack on the 6 people in front of him. Fast, ruthless, and accurate were the 3 elements of Yang Ming's attack. Lu Chao and the other 5 people squatted on the ground while holding their abdomens in pain. They were in so much pain that they were sweating. But fortunately, the willpower of these people was strong enough. No one cried out in pain. At this moment, everyone, including Li Chong, was shocked. Is this still a human skill? It is actually so fast to an incredible point. It wasn't known if others had noticed it, but Li Chong's observation was very subtle. Lu Chao and the other 5 people, they were covering the same part. In other words, Yang Ming could accurately attack the desired part with a very fast attack speed. There was no difference. If Ho Junhan could be on par with them, then Yang Ming and them were not at the same level at all. Li Chong had a feeling of being in a trance. Never mind Lu Chao and the other 6 people, even if all 39 of them went up, they might not be Yang Ming's opponent. What a bunch of useless frills. Yang Ming snorted and reprimanded mercilessly, "If I just attacked your neck or temple, you would be dead now." In fact, there were many fatal acupuncture points on the human body, but they wouldn't understand if he said it out loud. Yang Ming picked 2 fatal points that everyone was familiar with as an example. Lu Chao and the other 5 people were already ashen-faced at this moment. They didn't have the complacent look just now. Instead, it was replaced by sadness and silence. They were convinced. They were completely convinced. There was no luck. They knew it very well. If it happened again, or even 100 times, the result would still be the same. They would lose without a doubt. Who else thinks you can do it? Stand up. Yang Ming glanced at the people in the field and said coldly. Silence. Silence. No one dared to stand up. Yang Ming's powerful ghost-like skill was deeply imprinted in their hearts. Even the coach they worshipped in the martial arts school might not be able to withstand one move from this person in front of them. Indeed, Yang Ming's attack didn't have any fancy moves. One move was enough to kill any one of them. This was strength. They had no choice but to accept it. I am giving you the opportunity to challenge me now. Yang Ming saw that no one came out, so he continued, "If you don't challenge me now, I will take it that you accept it. Then you must follow my words in the future." No one spoke and no one stood up. Yang Ming raised his head and glanced at everyone's face. When he glanced at one person, the person lowered his head and didn't dare to look at him. Yang Ming was very satisfied with this. It seemed that his move just now had subdued them. These guys who worshipped the strong were completely convinced by him. Yang Ming nodded and said, "Well, since no one has any objections now, then I don't want to hear any objections in the future. In front of me, don't say anything like why. What you have to do is to obey." This. Li Chong was a little embarrassed. "Boss, what do you want us to do?" Although these people didn't have a source of income now, it was good enough to find a job. However, now it seemed that what Yang Ming wanted them to do wasn't security work. Normal people also wanted to figure out what the boss wanted them to do. Otherwise, no one would be at ease. "Okay, I can answer this question." Yang Ming nodded and said, "Let me ask you, why did you go to the martial arts school to learn martial arts?" After Li Chong and the others heard Yang Ming's words, they couldn't help but fall into deep thought. Gradually, an excited expression appeared on their faces. "Li Chong, you go first." Yang Ming smiled slightly and said to Li Chong, "My wish is to be a hero and get rid of those bad guys." Li Chong said while gritting his teeth. Yang Ming looked at Li Chong with interest. "Why do you have this idea?" "In the beginning, my girlfriend was raped by a big boss in the village. The purpose of my martial arts is to kill him." Recalling the past, Li Chong's eyes were full of anger. "Then why don't you sue him?" Yang Ming continued to ask. "Sue him? How can I sue him? The big boss took money to my girlfriend's house and directly settled her parents. Her parents not only didn't let her report the case, but also let her be the boss's mistress." Li Chong's breathing became rapid. "I want revenge." "Did you get your revenge?" Yang Ming asked faintly. "No." Speaking of this, Li Chong was a little depressed. "It is said that the boss cheated the money and ran away. My girlfriend also disappeared. What about you?" Yang Ming turned to ask Lu Chao and the others. These people had a variety of reasons, but most of them were the same as Li Chong. Yang Ming smiled. Yes, this was also the reason why he chose these people. Chapter 561. Yang Ming looked at the group of people whose gazes had turned fiery, and the corner of his mouth revealed a smile. "Is this the purpose of you learning martial arts?" Most people nodded helplessly. Indeed, it was a lie to say that it was good for one's body. Who would learn something that was not easy to find a job? As they grew older, they gradually understood a lot of things. They were no longer as impulsive as before and understood the hardships of society. "You all understand now." Some people clearly do bad things but they don't get the punishment they deserve. Yang Ming paused and said, some things can't be solved in the open, so they have to be solved in the dark. What I want you to do is to let you solve some things that can't be solved in the open. When everyone heard Yang Ming's words, they immediately looked at each other. In the end it was Li Chong who said, Boss? Are you saying that you want us to do something illegal? Yang Ming raised his head and looked at Li Chong. He did not speak for a long time but Li Chong's sweat fell. The oppressive feeling in Yang Ming's eyes was so strong that even his breathing felt unnatural. Of course all of this was due to Yang Ming's powerful skills. Boss. Li Chong lowered his head not knowing what to say. Li Chong, you disappoint me. Yang Ming said lightly, well, let me ask you, do you think that in ancient times a hero killed a tyrant who committed all kinds of crimes? Is that illegal? This is different. Li Chong's eyes flickered as he replied. Well, if you think it's different then let me ask you again. Tell me, what would you do if you saw the boss who raped your girlfriend one day? I will never let him have an easy time. I will tear him into pieces. After Li Chong finished speaking he couldn't help but be startled. He casually said with some embarrassment, I understand, boss. What about you guys? Yang Ming turned to look at the others. In fact, when Yang Ming asked Li Chong, everyone understood. Originally these people were martial artists. They didn't have a strong distinction between right and wrong. When they heard what Yang Ming said they felt that it was reasonable, so they nodded to show that they understood. But I promise I won't ask you to do anything to innocent people. Yang Ming looked at the crowd and said, your dream of being a hero will come true in the future. Obviously Yang Ming's words had completely changed these people's view of right and wrong. At this moment there was only excitement left. Yesterday's distant dream was about to come true. How could they not be excited? Okay, those who are willing to stay and work with me can come to me to get this month's living expenses. If you don't want to, I won't force you. I'll still give you 500 yuan for your trip out of here. As Yang Ming spoke he opened his handbag and took out a stack of money. Can we become as strong as you, boss? Li Chong was the first to take the 1,000 yuan that Yang Ming handed over. His eyes were full of passion. Yes, for those who stay I will give you intensive training. Yang Ming nodded. At that time, each of you will really be able to take charge independently. I'll stay. Li Chong nodded solemnly. People who learn martial arts have a mentality of worship for the strong. They can have the opportunity to become stronger. This is more attractive than anything else. If Yang Ming had said before that he could become as strong as him, then Li Chong would not have asked those questions at all. In his opinion this was much more than the previous question. Boss, are you serious? Lu Chao, who was not convinced before, suddenly asked in surprise. Of course I don't need trash. Yang Ming said lightly, my men are all strong. I'll stay. Lu Chao also went forward to get the money, but his expression at the moment was much more respectful. Others also said that they wanted to stay and no one left. This made Yang Ming a little dumbfounded. If I knew this I wouldn't have said the emotional nonsense before. These people are simply martial arts fanatics. When it comes to learning from me they don't care about anything else. After the 39 people received the money, Yang Ming registered their names one by one. Now no one had any doubts about Yang Ming because Yang Ming was unattainable in their eyes. First, do a good job of discipline. When I feel satisfied then I will teach you martial arts. Yang Ming glanced at the 39 people who were scattered in formation and shook his head. Although as an assassin the chances of a solo mission were higher, the possibility of large-scale collective combat was not ruled out. Therefore discipline was still very important. He didn't want to be in a state of disunity. I will find Big Ho, which is Ho Junhan, President Ho, to train you. Yang Ming said, Li Chong, you were the class monitor. Now you continue to be the captain of everyone. Solve your own meals. Don't worry, boss. Li Chong nodded and said. The others had no opinion. Even if Yang Ming did not let Li Chong be the captain he was still the leader of these people. On the same day Yang Ming called Ho Junhan and asked him to come over and train the 39 people. Of course, it was to train them with the same plan as when training recruits. For Yang Ming's instructions, Ho Junhan naturally did not dare to delay. He immediately trained these people. And because Yang Ming's identity was made public, there was also an explanation for Bao Sanli's side. These people were all from the martial arts school. There were a lot of group activities in school. Although they were not as strict as the soldiers after Ho Junhan's night and day training, these people were more well-behaved. When Yang Ming came the next day, it seemed that there was such a matter. According to Ho Junhan's recommendation, a few people with good kung fu and quality were selected. One was Li Chong, another was Lu Chao, and the other was Wang Peng. These 3 people were the best of the 39 people. Yang Ming divided the 39 people into 3 groups. Li Chong, Lu Chao, and Wang Peng each led a group. Li Chong was the leader of the first group and the captain. Lu Chao and Wang Peng were the leaders of the second and third groups. The 3 of you don't need to use your real names. It is inconvenient for you to do missions in the future. Let's do this. You each have a code name. Li Chong, you will be called Pluto. Yang Ming instructed. When I was in school they called me Martian. I will be called Martian, said Lu Chao. My name is Xiao Yi. Wang Peng was less talkative. He only had 4 short words. Okay. Yang Ming nodded. Go back and give your team members a code name. When you are on a mission in the future, don't call each other by their names. During this time you all should practice with each other. Yes. The 3 people said in unison. It seemed that Ho Junhan's training had a certain effect. Yang Ming developed a set of training plans for these people according to Fong Tian's training method yesterday. Of course, Yang Ming had some reservations. After all, Fong Tian had not allowed him to accept apprentices or spread these things out. Yang Ming just summarized a set of methods to quickly improve physical attack skills and some quick killing moves. Of course, for those more secretive things like acupuncture points, he would not take them out. Even so, it was a great help for the improvement of these people. Yang Ming believed that it would not be long before Yang Ming's men could be independent. At least it would not be a problem to deal with guys like Wu Ming. Yang Ming told the first part of the training plan to Li Chong and let him lead these people to train step by step. After doing this, Yang Ming began to think about Fong Tian's prescription. Yang Ming wanted to improve the strength of these people in a short time, so he had to use these auxiliary things. It was just that Fong Tian was not in Songjiang now, and Yang Ming couldn't contact him. He could only go to Fong Tian's house and search. Maybe he could find the prescription. In the past few days before the new year, Yang Ming really rested. He was so busy in the past that he didn't have time to take care of his own affairs. Since he obtained his special abilities, he had not stopped. It was really like the saying that the butterfly had a storm effect. His life could no longer be as dull as before. It was really the kind of opponent that one would encounter at a certain level. He didn't have such great ability before, and he didn't dare to provoke those heavyweight enemies easily. In the past few days before the new year, Yang Ming took the time to look at the book about voodoo healing that Lan Ling gave him through Grandpa Zhua. Although he didn't understand much and he needed to search for information online for a long time to get a general idea, he had a deeper understanding of voodoo. On the side of the Municipal Criminal Investigation Team, after the cooperation between Xia Shui and the customs, they actually found a big pest in the customs. His official position was not high, but he was very powerful. After a surprise interrogation, he confessed to the smuggling process of the Mercedes-Benz cars, but the contact was Su Daji. The clue was broken again. Because of this, Qin Fei was so angry that he scolded Xia Shui. Such a big thing. Why didn't you discuss it with me? You acted on your own initiative and took action against the customs people? Do you know that you are alerting the enemy by doing this? You have found him, but the criminal is hidden even deeper. Chapter 562. Xia Shui didn't know the stakes in this. She was happy that she had made a great contribution, but she didn't expect to be scolded. He suddenly felt wronged. If I don't catch him, should I keep him? Xia Shui, when can you be more mature? Do you understand the big picture? Qin Fei shook his head. He is just a small character. The behind-the-scenes boss hasn't surfaced yet. Captain Qin. Xia Shui was splashed with a bucket of cold water by Qin Fei. She immediately sobered up. Indeed, she was too impulsive at the time. Xia Shui didn't ask for permission to take action against the pest at the customs because she was eager to make a contribution. She really wanted to make a contribution. She was afraid that the other people in the team would look down on her, so she wanted to do something big. She didn't expect to do something bad. Okay, you don't have to say anything. You don't have to be responsible for this matter. Hand over your gun later. You will be suspended for a month. Go back and reflect on it. Qin Fei waved his hand and said angrily. Papinchin. I will ask for permission next time. Don't suspend me. When Xia Shui heard that she was going to be suspended, she immediately became anxious. Suspension is already a tolerance for you. I even want to transfer you to the police station to be a household registration officer. Qin Fei finished and ignored Xia Shui. He turned and went out the door. Before he left, he said, send the reflection to my desk later. Yes. Xia Shui didn't dare to have any objections this time. If she said anything, she was afraid that she couldn't even be a criminal police officer. Xia Shui was a little self-reproachful. Why am I so stupid? Am I really not suitable to be a criminal police officer? I am a woman, so do I have to do some clerical work? Xia Shui resisted the urge to cry and finished the reflection. Then she handed her gun and the reflection to Qin Fei. Then she left the police station with her head down. Looking at the familiar office building behind her, Xia Shui finally couldn't help but cry. Dee. There was a sound of a car horn behind Xia Shui. Hey. Xia Shui immediately scolded, there are so many roads but you don't walk. Why do you have to follow behind me? As she said this, she turned and was about to scold the driver behind her, but she immediately stopped. Second uncle. Xia Shui looked at the taxi behind her in a daze. Silly niece, why are you crying? Who bullied you? Xia Jidong stopped the car, jumped out of the driver's seat and quickly ran to Xia Shui. Second uncle. I'm fine. Xia Shui quickly wiped the tears on her face, but her red and swollen eyes couldn't deceive anyone. Look at you, child. You're clearly crying, yet you say you're fine. Xia Jidong shook his head and said, hurry up and get in the car first. It's windy outside and your eyes will be swollen. This time, Xia Shui didn't insist and followed Xia Jidong to the car. Hey, you can't park here. What's wrong with you? Quickly drive away. A traffic policeman just came over and shouted at Xia Jidong, if you don't leave, I will give you a ticket. What are you making so much noise for? Xia Shui was already in a bad mood. Now that there were still people making noise, she immediately reprimanded them unhappily. There were very few police officers in Songjiang who didn't know Xia Shui. First, it was because Xia Shui's reputation as a female T-Rex was very well known. Second, she was the only criminal police officer in Songjiang who had been transferred from the criminal police team to the traffic police team to reflect. How could these traffic policemen not know her? When they saw Xia Shui, they immediately closed their mouths. They thought, who provoked this female T-Rex again? It's better to talk less with her. Otherwise, it wouldn't be good if they were beaten by her. Xia Jidong just wanted to explain, but he saw that his niece reprimanded the traffic police that he was most afraid of in a few words. He couldn't help but be dumbfounded. This niece is really badass. After getting in the car, Xia Shui still looked like she didn't want to be provoked. Xia Jidong was somewhat helpless. I say, niece, what's wrong? Is your work not going well? Or did someone bully you? Second uncle, don't ask. It's nothing. Xia Shui shook her head. Being suspended was such a shameful thing. How could Xia Shui say it out loud? I don't know why you are doing this. Our family's situation isn't bad and we don't lack money. You say, why do you want to be a criminal police officer as a girl? This is the work of other men. Why do you want to join in the fun? Xia Jidong shook his head and said, listen to your second uncle. Don't do this anymore. Just resign. Let your dad introduce you to a good partner. Be together for a few years and then get married. How good would it be to stay at home and take care of your husband and children? Second uncle, you are right. Xia Shui nodded and said slowly. Xia Jidong was just happy, but he heard Xia Shui say, why do you have to drive a taxi? Isn't it good to go to my dad's company to help? Why do you have to do this hard work? Xia Jidong was speechless by Xia Shui's words. He only hated himself for talking too much just now. This time he lifted a rock and smashed his own foot. Xia Jidong said helplessly, your second uncle doesn't have any economic mind. He doesn't want to think about those things in business. If I were to manage your dad's company, it would be ruined in 2.5 days. Don't you know your second uncle? He only knows how to put in a lot of effort and doesn't know how to do other things. You say that if I were to go to your dad's company to be a driver, wouldn't people laugh at your dad? If the chairman's younger brother is a driver, it wouldn't be good if it was spread out. Yeah, second uncle, since this is the case, you don't have to persuade me. Being a criminal police officer was my childhood dream. Moreover, I want to be a criminal police officer who can solve big cases. I don't want to be a waste like now. Xia Shui nodded and said, Waste? How are you a waste? Who dares to say that my niece is a waste? Xia Jidong said quickly, Who said that? Second uncle will fight with him. Second uncle. Xia Shui was angry and funny. Don't add to the trouble. I'm really fine. It's just that I messed up my work. Captain Chin asked me to go back and reflect. Messed up? Which newcomer doesn't make mistakes? Think about it. Second uncle will send you home. Xia Jidong shook his head. He couldn't ask more about Xia Shui's work. After getting out of the car, Xia Shui didn't go home directly. Instead she went to the Blue Fish Bar. She wasn't in a good mood today. Xia Shui wanted to get drunk. It was naturally boring to drink alone. Xia Shui wanted to find someone to accompany her, but when she took out her phone and looked at the contact list above, Xia Shui suddenly had an urge to cry. After graduation for more than a year, Xia Shui almost cut off all her previous friends and devoted herself to work. She usually worked and worked. She didn't even have a friend to play with. Looking at the contact list on the phone besides her colleagues, it was her family. Xia Shui shook her head helplessly. Yang Ming? Xia Shui suddenly saw a name on the phone. Her heart suddenly moved. He should be coming to accompany me, right? Last time he was the one who accompanied me to drink. This kid sometimes he is really good. Thinking of this, Yang Ming dialed Yang Ming's phone. Yang Ming was reading the voodoo medical book that Lan Ling left for him at home. When the phone rang he picked it up. Oh. Yang Ming. I'm Xia Shui, said Xia Shui. Xia Shui. Why are you looking for me? Yang Ming was quite puzzled. Since the last time he drank with Xia Shui he hadn't seen her again. That has been a long time. I don't know why Xia Shui is looking for me. You come over and treat me to a drink. Xia Shui said as if she was ordering. Me? Treat you to a drink? Well. Yang Ming couldn't help but frown. Isn't this woman too overbearing? I have seen unreasonable people but I have never seen someone as unreasonable as her. Yes, now I'm at the Blue Fish Bar. You come over immediately, said Xia Shui. I say, did you make a mistake? Do you think I will go over just because you ask me to? Let's not talk about whether I have something to do here. Your attitude is a bit problematic. You want me to go over and treat you? Are you sick? Yang Ming was amused. Yang Ming, you promised me to be my long-term meal ticket. Okay, are you going back on your words? How many times have you treated me? Xia Shui was immediately unwilling. Yang Ming patted his head. I really forgot about this. However, what was said couldn't be undone. As a man, he was too lazy to argue with her, so he said, It's not that I can't treat you to a drink, but can you make an appointment in advance next time? Yang Ming. Are you done or not? I'm in a bad mood. I let you accompany me because I think you deserve it. I treat you as a good brother. You're still making excuses. Forget it. If you don't want to come, then forget it. After that, she hung up the phone. Ridiculous. Yang Ming looked at the phone that was hung up. A burst of anger came up. Who are you pretending with? I'm not going. Putting the phone aside, Yang Ming continued to read the voodoo book. You're tuning in to the Romantic Tales YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.